Okay, so
Samuel Peters was crushed by falling cargo.
anyways.
All right, I quit.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Game Club Monthly Podcast. This month's game was The Return of the Obra Dinn, and our guests today are George, over here in the corner. We've got Dallin, Gareth, and Eggman himself, Jake, and myself, Graham. And so this month our game was selected by Gareth, so why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Sure. So, back when Cyberpunk was very new, I had just gotten through the brain dance section that they seem to have forgotten out for the last rest of the game. And I had found an article, I think on Kotaku, where someone had made the connection between the brain dance sequences and basically the entire game of Return to Obra Dinn. And so I was curious about it, but it had been in my backlog for the whole time since I think November. And I saw that it was a relatively short game, so when we were discussing the game club criteria for games, it was popped up to the top of my list for that. And I didn't really know much about it aside from it being a mystery game that you had to look for clues. So pretty blind.
Okay.
What a game it was.
Yeah, what a game it was, yeah. Okay, you mentioned the brain dance stuff in Cyberpunk. It's similar, you said?
Yeah, sort of. It's a similar idea. The brain dance sequences are like you go into a VR recording that a character in the game has created, and you basically can. It's a VR video recording, and you scroll through
like
the recording
segments in their life and.
Well, just one 30-second, minute-long segment.
Okay.
And clues get highlighted, and you can focus on the clues and the main character.
It sounds pretty similar, actually. Yeah.
It's similar, but it's way easier because the clues are actually highlighted. You focus on it, and the main character says something about it, and it's solved. So way
and it's
easier.
in color.
But yeah, it's
yeah, color.
Weird,
not monochrome.
Cyberpunk colors. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it was a good choice, and I mean, Cyberpunk may have been easy in that, but Obra Dinn was anything but easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what made it fun, to be honest. At least for me, the challenge was definitely once you got, there's you put in a fate, 3 fates, because that's how the game requires you. You solve it in 3s. You put in a fate, and then for a second, you kind of can't control your mouse and you can't do anything, and then it says well done. I don't know about you guys, but it was just oh, I did it. This is it,
Yeah, when you see that, when you're clicking stuff, you're I think it's one of these 3 guys, and you're clicking the name, and then you're you look for the mouse to have disappeared. You're was that it? Was that it? And then you see the mouse disappear, and you're yes, yes. Oh,
yeah,
so
that was very, very rewarding. That's for sure.
Seriously.
No, I absolutely love that this month's choice, Gareth. That was
good.
Top notch. I have nothing but praise. I have a couple nitpicky things, but as far as an experience, it was more in the game. It was kind of, I guess, just by happenstance. I was at the same time that we started, not anymore, but at the same time that we started the game, I was reading And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which is a kind of a murder mystery kind of book as well. And so I was in this kind of mystery mindset. And so then we started playing this, and it just fit perfectly. And I absolutely loved every second of it, for sure.
Yeah, right off the top, I just want to say this was a great pick. I've been looking forward to this. Completed the game pretty quickly in the month compared to last couple games, and yeah, just couldn't wait to. I wanted to play it again. I wanted to erase my memory and play it again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and everything about this game is pretty interesting. I mean, to the fact that Lucas Pope did pretty much everything himself. Is that
crazy.
true? Does anybody know?
I mean, when I looked at the credits, like it seemed like most of the stuff was done by him. Like there's a lot of credits with like random people, but it's mostly like localization and languages and
Or
some
voices.
Voice
And
acting.
voice
Yeah,
acting.
obviously they
yeah.
do all the voices.
Right.
Yeah, but as far as like the programming, the design, the game is designed in this binary form where it's just two colors, just basically just
Yeah, monochrome.
black and
yeah.
white. I mean, there's different versions of
Like
it that you
hues.
can pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on different displays, I guess, from the time period that he was trying to capture, like this old school computer era.
Did
And
anyone?
Which is,
Sorry. Did anyone change their colors or at least the sharpness of the image?
yeah.
I kept it
I-
at base. I kept it at base. Like
Yeah,
just
I
normal.
tried every single one just to see. But the default one was the best one for me.
Yeah.
I did try it, but it was weird because I would look away from. I think I played like 5 minutes total with each thing just to see, but I would look away and my eyes had adjusted to this other color, and it still happened with the default one as well. But with the other ones, it was much more so that I was like seeing through this filter. I don't know. I changed it back. I changed it back almost immediately.
Yeah, I use the default color, but there's like I can't remember what that option is, but there's like another option that changes kind of like the rendering to a degree, and like the normal generic rendering is kind of like more smooth, but there's another one that's like sharp or something like that, and it like makes everything a little more like sharp looking. And I actually kept on that setting. I think it like makes the screen
think I did
bigger
that
or something,
too.
but it made everything like less smooth and more like defined. So when I looked at faces, I felt like the faces were just it wasn't a lot, but it was just a little bit more easy like to distinct them between each other.
Yeah, I think the smooth was bad.
Yeah.
I actually think it's on sharp by default, and then I went in and messed with everything and tried the
Okay.
smooth, and I was like, no, this is horrible.
Yeah.
And there's also shrink too, which makes it you can only play the game in full screen, and then the shrink like makes it
Like
super
so-
tiny. Yeah,
so
I was
small.
like, who's doing this?
Yeah.
So you played on your calculator.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
The
basically.
what is it?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to see
TI?
anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used there's a color that's really close to the default one that's like a little bit less yellow. I used that one. I felt like that one was more felt like a paper book look to it.
Hmm.
But I tried every single one, and it's actually pretty cool. You get used to pretty much any color, and after a while you don't even notice it. The exception to that is the green one. The green one is so neon and so awful. But every single other one, I would play with it for like an hour, and I wouldn't even notice the color.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really like the art style. It reminds me of that kind of newspaper profile drawing, the kind of the dotted
Yes.
art style.
Yeah.
It just I don't know what it was, but I just was sucked into this as a mystery. I'm kind of a private eye or whatever it's called, an investigator, kind of trying to watch all this happen. It drew me in from the art style, the music, the deaths themselves, and I got to give him props for Lucas Pope that, I don't know how many deaths can happen in a ship, but they
Seriously.
were, he
I-
yeah,
You
like
delivered on that,
61
yeah.
deaths. And I mean, there were some repeats, like, more than one person kind of got speared or
Oh,
destroyed by the Kraken,
Right.
which, spoiler alert, if it isn't obvious,
Yeah, this is full spoilers.
yeah, this is
for
full
the-
spoilers.
Right.
Don't be
that,
watching this if you haven't played the game.
Be
It'll be in
prepared.
the footnote.
I actually
no, yeah,
knew.
I have
oh,
more to say about that eventually, but
yeah. I actually knew there was a Kraken in the game because I had watched someone talking about Return to the Obra Dinn like years ago. So this was actually on my like to play list for like years since it had come out, and people were saying how good it was.
Yeah, it got a lot of awards when it came out.
Yeah, I mean, to be sure, right? Like it's an
well
amazing
deserved.
game. Yeah, well deserved. But I actually knew there was a Kraken in the game, and I don't know if the video that I watched just didn't like spoil the other parts of the game or what. But when I first saw the like spider freaking people, I was like shocked.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
because I think maybe it was different for everybody, but maybe it's the same. you first see the spider people by looking through that slit, right?
Yep.
And
I
like
think
I
that's,
was like,
right there, yeah.
I was
I
shocked.
can't remember, to be
I
honest.
couldn't
I was
believe it.
shocked with the
Oh yeah,
Kraken.
with the steward guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
when you're in the side with the steward.
Yeah.
Right when you're with the steward, right? The guy that gets he gets stabbed, crawls away, and then he actually gets shot. Is that the
Yeah.
one you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Is that the
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe that is the first one that you see. The crab.
That wasn't my first memory to see the crab people.
I don't
Actually.
think I realized because I heard Graham playing a little bit a few days ago, and he was saying some things, and I was like, he's having that now. I had that happen forever ago.
Right.
Like, and fun fact, Graham, you actually didn't spoil anything. I double checked when I got home. So it
Okay,
was all
nice.
good. Yeah, there was a moment where he was saying some things, and I'm like, oh, I think you just
Uh-oh.
told me somebody. And I went home and I guessed that person. I just didn't. It was
You
all
didn't
good.
remember, right? Yeah, it
Oh, yeah,
was.
for
Yeah,
me,
so it was all good.
It was quite
my
Yeah,
shocking.
those
like-
people,
Yeah,
crabs. They're like
Down.
riding crabs, I think.
Yeah, it was like seamen who
Yeah.
were riding like crab spiders.
They're like in ghillie suits.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, yeah.
crazy.
Oh, the first one I
Yeah,
saw
that-
wasn't through a slit. It was just like random.
Yeah, it was like on the deck.
Was it
right?
right
And
there?
They
It
were
was
like
on the-
bringing up guns. I'm trying to remember like the order
The
of
one I
everything.
saw was just outside the surgeon's like quarters.
Oh.
Oh, maybe that's what
right
it was.
after seeing all
I'm
the
pretty sure mine was on
all
the
people
bottom.
that died from like the cold or whatever, and then like there's a crab person
Yeah.
in front of you, and I remember it was the one where the guy caught fire, and I thought that
Okay.
the people that had died were now riding the crabs at first, and then
Ah.
eventually it was obvious that they weren't. But it's like,
That's
what is going
interesting.
on?
I played through the game twice. I did like a little speed run just from memory, just to play it again, and I actually tried to do some things out of order. And when it got to that part, because I like Graham, I found that was a really interesting way to introduce that. Where you haven't seen the crabs yet, and you're going around, and the outside of this has hallways, and you can
Right,
look through,
yeah.
you can look through the little slits on the outside of the boat to the inside, and and the guy's on the outside and he's died, so you're looking at him, and then
And
you turn.
And there's
and-
nothing like weird about his death area, right? Like he's just like some bones in the hallway, and
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, like there's.
Yeah, you don't
whatever.
have to do
Back-
anything special
yeah.
to get to him. He's just on the
Right.
on the back side. You just have
Uh-huh.
to walk around to find him. But yeah, and having the crabs revealed that way to me felt really like it was
Spooky.
perfect, because you can just see the legs through, and it was very creepy. That was
Oh,
the
yeah.
most horror vibe that I got out of the game, because the game doesn't try to do horror
Right.
like a lot, but that one spot was definitely like,
It was like,
whoa,
Whoa.
I am terrified now. Like, I hope these things don't come when I'm just walking around
seriously.
investigating this, because I will probably stop playing this game if they're scuttling towards me with those giant spikes. But yeah, I tried to do that part out of order, and I couldn't find it, so that's
It
crazy.
might
that
have
you
been.
guys...
I don't
Maybe I
remember,
missed it.
to be perfectly honest, the exact
Because a lot of things
order.
go backwards, and I think that's one of the
Mhm.
scenes where you work your way up from that point, like,
Right.
and then you go up the stairs, and then there's one
Okay.
there's one last one at the bottom, at the very bottom of the
Right.
boat. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Be interesting to see if you guys got it a different way, because
Yeah,
I thought that was purposeful, like the way he did it.
It's totally
but-
possible I didn't look through the window close enough and didn't notice that.
Ah, true. That's
Yeah.
true. If you didn't look through the window and just went around, you would see them in the hallway near the surgeon's place. So that might be.
Oh yeah, you could have just walked right around, I guess,
Mhm.
and never even.
That
You
might have been
couldn't.
what I did.
Yeah.
You
too.
couldn't
I don't
though.
know.
I don't think you could, because that I had to spend a long time. The both sides were blocked off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I tried to
Oh,
walk.
yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
black. The reason why I remember is because I described his death wrong 3 times.
Yeah,
I saw he got
know.
stabbed.
Yeah,
That
dude,
was a
that
hard
was one
death
was
for
a
me,
little
too.
misleading.
That
Yeah.
one. Okay, who?
I thought he
hardest
committed
one.
suicide. I thought he committed suicide because I
Oh.
didn't hear a gun. I saw him getting stabbed, and he crawled away, and I just hear him like struggling, and then I just hear, and he's like holding his stomach, and I couldn't really tell. I'm like, I wonder if he just couldn't handle the pain, so he ended it. And then,
No, I thought
and then I'm
he
like,
had gotten
who is
stabbed.
this guy?
I thought he
And that
got
was him
Yeah,
just
I
spiked.
noticed.
puking his himself, his like guts out, because he's just like dying. Just, you
So
know.
I thought he got shot immediately.
Really?
I just didn't
Well,
know
I
who
didn't see
the
the
guy
spike.
was.
I
Yeah.
didn't see the spike, so I thought like, wait, where'd the spike go? And then
Well, he
when I
definitely
look,
was
I saw
injured
the
and
guy,
probably
and he got
would
shot.
have died.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's another guy in the hallway that got triple spiked. And so when I saw that and I saw this other guy, I went, oh, well, he obviously got spiked too. Like, he got hit through the wall. He was one of the last ones I got correct, though, because I
Yeah,
came
same.
back and I was like, what? How is this guy not solved yet? Like, I've got him forever ago. And then I was looking through the slit, and then I saw someone on the other side with a gun shooting, and I was like, because I was looking for the spike. I was like, where is the spike? Down. I should have noticed that too. Like, down's totally right. Like, I
Yeah.
was looking for the spike. I was like, there's no spike. And I'm looking through
Yeah,
the
there's no
slit, and then I
spike,
was
'cause
like,
they're pretty
you,
big.
you shot this
Yeah.
guy. Oh, man.
yeah.
So
No,
good.
so
Talon, you
I
said
actually
you
got
didn't
that
hear a
one.
gunshot?
I don't think I did. My problem. I mean, I don't want to take away from this because I really like what we're talking about. But like, I focus so much because you guys may know now. Like, I'm doing a film, like helping some guys. I'm the audio guy, so I focus so much on hearing stuff that sometimes I didn't even read what I was looking at. Which then George was able to help me out with. He's like, "Hey, did you read through it?" And I'm like, "I listened to it 5 times already."
Well,
So
I
then
want
I like
everybody
look
else
through.
to.
I'm like, okay, it is a little bit different, but like there was 2 deaths at one point where right before they die, they're breathing and you hear a heartbeat and then it ends. So I thought, that's him like saying they died similarly. It wasn't. They did not die similar at all. But before they died, I heard a heartbeat.
Well,
but like this guy, I was confused about him too because there was one guy earlier that is on the crab, and then they're like, burn it, burn it.
Mm.
So I thought, oh, he's spiked, but he actually dies through the fire. Okay. So I put him down as burn. And then I thought the guy that got spiked, I'm like, oh, maybe he like stabbed himself so it was suicide. But then I learned like, wait, but he got spiked. But anyway, he ended up dying not because he got spiked, but he got shot. So it was the latter.
Yeah.
and my
Right.
point
And
was
the one
there
guy that got
is
caught
a
on
gunshot.
fire was spiked.
The
Yeah, there was a gunshot. I can't
happens
remember
as
hearing
soon
it.
as the scene opens. So they
Ah.
do that a lot. So like literally the gunshot is instant and he dies at that second. So literally like as the screen comes from black to the scene, it's the gunshot because the guy's like, "Here, give me that gun."
Okay.
And then you hear bam and you're in the
right.
scene. So it kind of is a transition thing that you might think that, oh, I missed that he actually did fire the gun at that split second. So that was the only thing that made it like I was like, oh, okay, the gun shoots exactly when the scene comes in. So he has to have died by the bullet. But
Yeah,
I was just super
actually,
confused.
yeah, well, that death I actually figured out after. What's the guy that got hung? The guy from Formosa, Ik Sao or something.
Oh, yeah, on the
Oh, the
top.
guy that got
His name.
shot?
Yeah,
today?
one of the guards.
He was framed.
yeah,
He was
well,
one of the first
off,
guys I figured
was
out.
framed.
He was one of the first
Well,
guys
he's-
I figured
he's one of
out.
the
Well,
ones
here's
that-
the thing. I didn't
Yeah.
know who had killed him because I didn't pay attention to the spray of the bullets.
Uh-huh.
Like the first, actually, like the first, like I was like, how do I not have this guy? Because I did the gunner. What's his face? Mr. Wolf, because he's the one
Brennan?
that's fire.
Right. Yep.
So I'm like, okay, maybe they're attributing the death to him because he's the one that's like,
Ordering the shot.
Same.
yeah. Then
yeah,
I
I
went
went
for
for
the
the firing
captain.
squad. I was
He's the
like,
one that
where's
ordered
the
it.
firing squad?
Yeah. I looked for firing squad, didn't find that.
Death by
I
firing
looked for
squad.
execution. I couldn't find something like that either. So I'm like, okay, maybe it was the captain. Maybe because he's the one. He's like, I order you to or
Right.
sentence you to death or whatever. And then finally, after being so frustrated, I'm like, all right, what am I missing with this? What am I? And like I finally like saw like I
All
stood
the-
behind the firing guys and I saw that one of the bullets had missed and I was like, oh, like it clicked in my brain. I'm like, oh, not all of the bullets hit. And then so I
Actually,
like
all of them
I, like,
missed.
All of them missed but one.
of them missed but one.
Yeah, exactly.
One guy actually knows how to
One of the worst
shoot.
shots on the planet.
15 feet away.
We got
Yeah,
some
seriously.
stormtroopers on the
There could be
Obra
story
Dinn.
in there. I wonder if there was story there though, because some of the guys at the end, I don't know if all of them were considered like. Some people were considered scotch-free, that there was no crime. I'd have to double check. I wonder if some of those guys actually would not kill him because they knew he was framed. I don't know.
I wonder.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
there's a lot of story things that I didn't get answers to that I kind of want to talk to you guys about later
Yes,
because I'm like,
I do.
how? But it just
Well,
with
since
your
we're on
thought
that
real
one,
quick,
we can-
I do
George,
want to move into story a little bit.
but I did.
I
Go
did
ahead,
want to
go
say.
ahead. Finish
Okay.
your point.
Go
I
ahead,
didn't have
Dale.
a thought that I finished.
Okay.
Oh.
So I didn't have when we were talking about again how the guy getting shot, I was confused because some deaths weren't as obvious to me, which I had to then guess because when somebody had a similar death, the outcome was still different. Like the guy that got shot, he got spiked first and then got shot, but the second one was death. Well, the guy above him got spiked and then burned. I'm like, makes sense. Even though it got spiked, it was the fire that finished him off and died. No, it wasn't. It was the spike. So I was like,
but wait,
think about it.
So
could you
think
the
about
spike
it.
goes through your heart first, and then the spike
Yes,
stops.
exactly. Think about
how
it.
come
So
the other
like,
guy didn't die
I
either?
think it might have
Because
been
it was where
burned.
he
I
got
don't-
hit.
Wait,
It was where he
that's the
got hit,
thing.
maybe.
hold on?
Think about it in real
can
life.
you set? I thought I picked him as burned. Is that not correct?
No, he's not burned. He's spiked.
I must have changed it then. I'm not
Yeah,
remembering.
there
see,
is two burns.
I thought
though,
it was
so.
similar. That's me
Think
assuming
about
that you
it
get
this way,
stabbed in
though.
the same spot by spiked, though, because spiked, it could have maybe if I would have seen maybe it actually went through his heart and he did die in that moment. It's just they stay. I just thought there would have been similarity, so I got
It's
super
just one of those
thrown
tiny
off.
misleading things that they do.
Yeah,
There's
it's a
few
Which
little
I
bit,
think
yeah.
is clever, which I can praise.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was
definitely on
annoying at
purpose.
first. Yeah, like I thought it was annoying at first, but I'm just like, you know what? Cool. Because there were so many things that said like somebody gets destroyed by falling boulders, someone gets eaten. It's never used. Like,
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
the guys that get thrown off.
He had to fluff
they
that
got
up.
eaten. They got tangled. They're with the Kraken. Something happened. No, they drowned. They
I
just
was-
drowned. It's water. It wasn't the
Yeah.
Kraken. The
Someone-
Kraken has his hand around him. His tentacle
Yeah.
was water. Like I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I
Who-
there were so many of those I looked at. I was like, dying of old age. I was like, how am I ever
Yeah.
gonna like find something that like fits this? But never gets used. I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
No,
I
there
see
were-
what
I
you've
love
done
that.
here.
I
So
love
we're
your
misleading
extra.
you on purpose. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
When he was hanging, going back to when he was hanging though, I remember looking at that and just like staring and be like, how the heck am I supposed to figure out who killed this guy? There's like 4 people shooting him, and I'm just like sitting there. And you know how like in like the conspiracy things where they're like hanging up things in a room and they're all like hanging there, and then they like
Right.
back up and it like all kind of connects together. I was just like looking at it, I was like, how am I supposed to? Oh, fricks! Some of these are missing, and I was like, wait, all of them are missing, but this one. And then I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yep.
I have a
yep.
slightly lazy roundabout to how I solved that one. So I already had 2, and then that one came up, and I didn't get it right away. I was like, okay. So I went to the next one, and then went back to it just a few minutes later. And was like, all right, somebody here killed him. It has to be one of these people.
Right.
Because I was like, the way that this is structured, there's no firing squad. There's no like ate by a shark when he fell in. So, so I just guessed Brennan because he
What a
seemed
guy.
like the best killer because he was alive at the end. He was like really resourceful and he seemed like he knew what he was doing with a gun. So I was like,
Yeah, he's
Brennan must be because Brennan kills like 3 people.
He
I
kills a
think,
lot of
Yeah.
people. He
like,
gets
by the
around.
end. And so I was just
Yeah,
like, I don't
I
know these
always
other
saw him.
doofuses. I'm gonna guess Brennan instead of going back and seeing the gunshots. And so it worked. I later did go back just because I went back to every scene multiple times and saw that it actually went. But I just kind of got it off of like a lazy guess, an educated lazy guess.
I wonder though. That makes me think like they must have set that up the same way, right? Because you came to that in a totally different but logical way. So
I think there's I think there's multiple examples of that, and I do think that it's
yeah, that's interesting.
It talks to like the absolute perfection of the way the
Yeah.
amount of clues that you get,
yeah.
the way that they're given to you, just kind of sprinkled throughout. Like Brennan, this was like on me the first time. You know how it says, I can't remember who's dying, but he's been stabbed. It's one of the topmen, I believe.
Oh,
And
in the room?
first mate, the first mate says, "Brennan, get the surgeon's kit."
Yes, and he's
or
going.
whatever, and he's like holding
Okay.
his ear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
how you figure out who he
completely
is.
missed. I
Oh, really?
completely
Long
missed
time to
like
notice that.
that his name was Brennan the very first time, but because I had it in my mind because he hangs around the first mate so much that I had him guessed as the first mate's steward. I think is what I had it as, yeah, he's the first mate, right? He's not the second mate. The
Brennan's second? I think he's second.
no, not Brennan. The guy
Brennan's
that
just a,
Brennan's-
just
Brennan's
a
a seaman.
the
Oh.
first mate. That's
He's just
the,
a really handy seaman.
yeah, the guy that's
I
yelling,
almost feel like I
"Brennan,
should
get the
have. I
surgeon's
might just
kit."
turn on the game. I wonder if I might just turn on the game and just
I
have. the book
actually have the
open.
wiki pulled.
I
can
would just
pull
pull up
it
the
Oh.
wiki, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the first mate, and he's always hanging around the first mate. So I was like, no, this guy is this guy's got to be the first mate's steward, and like I had that
He was the
locked
first
in.
mate suck up, is what he was.
Kind of, yeah. I had it locked in for the whole time, and then finally I went back to that memory, and I noticed he was cupping his ears. I'm like, why would anyone cup their ears when their name's called if they're not, if that's not? Their
I
name?
noticed
That's
that right away. I
Yeah.
went out in the hallway and saw someone doing this. I was like, "You're frickin' Brennan." I knew it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that one was a little cheeky though, because he wasn't really that far away that he would need to be cupping. I think that one was just kind of like,
It was
okay,
pretty-
by this point you need to, like, the way the dominoes are falling, you need to figure out who Brennan is. He's right. He's literally like 2 steps away from the door at the thing. Let's make him cup his ear.
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I actually, one thing that I wonder, I had to do this a few times, and I did it towards the latter end of the game, and I think I did it for that one. I had to repeat what they say in my mind, like the "Senor Nicholas, is that you?" Like that whole line, that whole part where he's like, "What are you doing down here?" I have that through my mind. Like I dreamt, guys. This game went into my dreams twice. I could not sleep
Yeah.
one night
So
because I had
that-
a dream where I was
Okay,
on the Obra
let me
Dinn,
answer
and
this.
somebody was saying, and there was like this voice. It's just like, you have to solve the murder, and I guess it was the guy that gives you the book. I was like, you have to solve the Obra Dinn, and I could not sleep one night, and I actually started hating the game more after
Dylan's
that.
waking nightmares.
I had no idea this was
So it's so funny though, because Dallin was
But
struggling
no,
with
but you
this
have to
memory
repeat the
a
words.
lot.
That's,
Yeah, well, Dallin was
no,
struggling
that's what
with
I
this
that's what
memory
I
a
had
lot.
to.
And so
well, the thing is,
I hopped
well,
on
the thing
Discord
is that
with
I
him.
had to repeat.
Yes,
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
you
but
on
I'm
Discord.
going to
But
tell your
what I was
story.
getting at before we get to it, well, before we get to it, I had to repeat the lines which each person I saw. So like when I saw somebody, I would then like repeat what was said, and then I'd go to the next person and maybe kind of go through it again, and sometimes it would apply to them differently. It was a little, I got desperate, guys. Like, look at this. This is my notebook. This is my freaking notebook.
Yes.
That's
Dude,
awesome, dude.
Nice.
here's the second floor. I drew the second floor, running all the hammocks. I drew
There's
them all.
nothing saying that you can't do
Okay.
that, though.
It's good. Yeah. It's
My
good.
mind is blown because I was sitting here thinking he's just not putting in the work, but yet you were.
over 15 hours.
Well,
over
that's
15 hours to beat the
Yeah,
game.
so-
Look, I'm.
No,
that's
but that
fine.
story,
I'm
George, you wanted me to
excited
say
that
it.
you were putting
So
in
it
the work.
was so hilarious. So Dallin was struggling with that memory in particular a lot, and so I
He
hopped
got
on
punched
Discord
with
and I told him
no
to
knife.
where the second mate murders what's his name, the guy who was playing the violin, Pasqua. No,
From Italy. From
yeah,
Italy.
from Italy.
Oh, that's,
Yes.
I hate
So it's so hilarious. So he cops on, and like he's watching this memory over and over and over. I'm like,
I can probably
Dallin,
tell you the whole
pay,
line.
pay attention to the text. He's like, I have it memorized, and he just like says the whole script over. I'm like,
He's got it all
The
scripted
accent.
out in his
Yeah,
head.
I'm
The accents. The accents are so good. The voice acting
well-
is so good.
It is
voice
very
acting is very good. Yeah,
It's
I'm
very
like,
good.
okay, what line in there is, or what word is there different than like the rest? Or I can't remember the exact same thing, but it's all in English except signor, which is Italian. And I'm like, what is that? What? I'm like, is there anything that's different? And then Dallin rightfully says signor. I'm like, all right,
Spanish.
what? Yeah, what is that? What
I
does that
knew it.
remind me of? He's
I
he's
knew
like,
this
"It's
was coming.
Spanish." I'm like, okay. Do you see anyone from Spain in the manifest? And he's like, he goes through it and he reads, and no one's from Spain, obviously. I'm like, okay, what is Spanish? And I basically coerce out of him the word.
Yeah.
It's a Romance language,
Yeah.
kind of like French or Portuguese. I'm like, yeah, French, Portuguese,
Wait
Wait a second,
Italian.
he says his name in the
Spanish.
thing, though. You don't even need this.
He says
What are
his
you
name?
talking about? He says his name. They both say
Oh,
each
Senor
other's names in
Nicholas.
that one.
Yeah, Senor Nicholas. Yeah.
And
I
then he's
got
like,
his
"Oh,
name.
Pascal or whatever."
No, he goes, oh yes, down here. Don't mind me. Watch your
I
step.
am-
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't think he says his
Sound
name
like
in
He
that.
doesn't say his name.
I don't
swear to
think he
God says
does.
his name.
I don't think
They
so.
say his name later.
Yeah,
no, but
when
he
he's
gets
being
punched. The
Oh,
sound
it's-
fix too is him
it's
getting punched, and it's
because
like
when he
knife.
gets- yeah.
Punched.
Never mind, you're right.
It's like
In the scene where
it's like
he's
oh.
I had some
Blood.
trouble getting him as well. It
See
wasn't
the
like
pairing.
huge as much as Dallin clearly had, but it was
Dude,
tricky.
I literally told them the language. I'm like, all right, so Romance languages like French,
well. Also,
Portuguese,
you can just look at the
and
timeline.
Italian.
because Right after
These
that,
guys.
He goes and he sees
I'm
the only
not
French man.
country.
The bosun's, or yeah, I think it's the bosun's mate, the French guy, and he says it, and he's like, "See, it didn't do it. I don't know who this guy is. I can't guess it." I'm like, "All right, all right. Think back to what's the Romance languages?" I'm like, "Think back on it," and he's like,
I don't know.
Portuguese. Okay, I don't see anyone from Portugal here. I'm like, okay, what's another Romance language? Like
Portugal
Spanish,
ruined me later on.
Portuguese, French. He's like, I already picked the French guy. It's not the French guy. I'm like, no.
So there's another one.
Literally telling you Italian, and he like passed. He went through each person individually. It was so hilarious. And he would skim every time past Italian, and I didn't want to give him. I didn't want to give him the exact answer, but it was
So
and
funny.
then
There is another easier way though.
so my wife. So this went for like 10 minutes. 10 minutes, and I'd like talk to my wife about this game like the whole time, and then she's finally like got frustrated because it was literally, no lie, like 10-15 minutes. I'm like, okay, what are the Romance languages, Dallin? and she finally just yells from across the room, "It's Italian, Dallin, Italian!"
Oh my gosh, you got George's wife involved.
Yeah, dude,
Guys, I don't know languages at all. Like the whole part 2 at the end, Portugal has been ruining me, because at the part where it's like, oh, the guys are getting off on the boat, right? Well, it's right before Doom, or it's the first part about the Doom, that chapter. It's on the left side, so I think they're going to go to Arzaria, I don't know where it is. I'm like, oh, but they just went through the Cape Island area, and that and then I was just like, oh, and I Googled it. It's just like, oh, but it's part of Portugal. But Portugal, as I know, is not on there. And then it's just like, oh, wait, but it also has some like regions of Europe. I Googled this. And then I'm just like, oh, Europe. Wasn't Europe. I literally was like, I'm going to watch through all these scenes all over again. And I'm like, wait a minute. These guys left the boat. Why are they part of the Kraken? So I like looked around, and I'm like, all right, good old buddy gets ripped apart. I almost dropped the game because some of the sound effects were too good. I could not hear people dying over and over again for 15 hours. My stomach turned a few times. And I'm just like, I'm hearing people die constantly. Oh, I didn't get them. I'm gonna hear you die again. Anyway. So then I looked in that part, and then I go to that part where I'm like, oh, there's the Kraken, and I'm like, oh, the guy that gets hit in the head, he's like. It was the ropes. It was an accident. That guy that gets hit in the head, his body's gone in the next scene. His body is actually gone. So I wonder if that's a mistake, because his body's gone, because you see it afterwards. His body's gone. I'm like, wait, why is he gone? And then I look up, or I look around the sides, and I'm like, well, his body didn't fall overboard. And that's when I see 3 little amigos. I see 3 little guys like this over
Flipping.
going, yeah, flipping. Those are my last 3 guys in the game, pretty much. And I was like, I couldn't tell.
That was a fun discovery, though. That was a really fun discovery.
But yeah, there was.
I was like, how can I know where they sailed to? Where did they go? Like, this is so difficult.
Because it just says it disappeared. They
just disappeared. And I'm like looking around because I was looking for other people. And then I was like, I wonder if I could see their ship going out. And I'm like looking around, and then I'm like, there's people flying in the sky right there. What the heck? These guys are all drowned.
You couldn't even zoom on them. They were so far away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 of the guys, I kind of liked 2 of them. 2 of them were decent fellas, I thought, and there they go.
So who was everyone's most difficult solve? The one that like really walled you, or took the longest, or was like the last one because you couldn't solve it?
Well, I can't say all of them. Probably about half of them.
We know the whole roster for down.
Okay, we'll choose somebody to say.
Okay, so I'll say
go for it.
Mine was the bosun, and maybe I'm a freaking idiot, but like for some reason I spent like at least 45 minutes trying to solve just that one. Like I would have beaten the game like an hour earlier if it wasn't for this one freaking guy, and I knew it. The bosun. I might be saying that wrong because I'm dumb. But like,
no, that's
is that it? Yeah, okay.
It right.
Yeah, like I couldn't figure out who the bosun was, and I felt so stupid at the end because the guy who was bleeding, who got his arm torn off, and he was like, "Where's my Frenchman?"
My Frenchman.
Yep,
and
that's what tipped it up to me.
I was like, the first
only
time
one French person.
Yeah, like the first time I listened to that, my brain went, "Oh, like my Frenchman, like my fellow Frenchman," and so I was like, "Oh, he must be also French." But like when I listened back to it way later, after I was doing all this other stuff to try and solve it, and I finally went back to this one, and then he said, "Where's my Frenchman?" And I went, Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm
So
actually
you weren't
an
thinking about the
idiot.
part where everybody has like all the officers have their own little slave. So he was literally talking about like his
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 his little slave.
His steward.
yeah,
Well,
cared
exactly,
about him.
his steward,
He
He
yeah.
cared about
Stewards
him.
or
Come
maids,
on.
but
Yeah,
they're
no,
still,
like once I got that, it
assistants.
totally clicked. But I spent so long like dancing around that whole thing, trying to figure out what was going on. Oh man, it was. But once I got that, it was. It was like I would go get a bunch, and then like a little difficulty, and then go, and a little difficulty, and go, and then brick freaking wall on that guy. And then once I got that guy, the rest of it was smooth sailing.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm trying
so
to
I'll go.
think. Yeah, go
My
for
hardest
Yeah.
was the Chinese topman because
yeah.
it.
there's not anything that really separates them in the scenes. Like they're never the focus point, and I guess
Mhm.
because they're top men, they're probably up on the top a lot. I mean, they are
Right.
in a fair amount of scenes, but nobody ever. They don't ever. Their names aren't ever spoken. I don't think they
No.
don't speak to anybody else.
Yep.
Um, and like since they're all top men, they're all wearing like the same thing, and I'm sure there is something, but I guessed the last three of them. I knew like kind of like I knew how all of them had died. I figured all of that out, of course, because some of them are disappearances, I think, or random stuff. But yeah, I guessed like I randomly got one of them at another time, and then the last three I just kind of, went around
Alliterations.
and guessed them.
Right.
Was that the guy with the kraken starting to go around him while he was on the ropes? Are you talking about that guy?
No, that's an English topman, I think, or a different one.
No,
but-
he was the guy in the picture that you could see his face next to the girl on the bottom left of the picture.
Oh, okay, so he was one of them. Yeah, but there was
he has his
as far
hand
as I
like
know, there was
this.
no way to know what his name was. It was the
Oh,
names,
Wee
it
Lee.
wasn't the disappearances.
He
Yeah.
took me a while. He's the one that had a kraken around him, and his result was drowned. And I'm like,
Yeah.
a kraken? What?
So yeah, that
Kraken's
one
gonna kill you.
and the second one was the two passenger women.
Yeah,
But-
that was.
The two passenger women was tricky.
I just guessed eventually. One of
Yeah.
them was younger.
I was just like, this
So-
one looks more like an
Jesus.
Emily, and this one looks more like Bird.
So
I did that.
you know
I
how you
got
can
it
do that one?
wrong.
One is referred to as Miss, and then another one has a
Yeah.
wedding ring.
See, I didn't see their wedding ring, but because
Yeah, she's
of
holding
that,
rope. She's
I
holding
would-
rope, and
I
it's like
went
the
through-
blackest thing in that scene.
I would never have caught that.
I didn't.
Yeah,
catch
how I
anything,
figured
just
it
guessed.
out was. So you just guessed? Yeah,
Well, one was younger than the other, so maybe she's the miss.
Yeah, I was like, this one's more mature because she's in the front in all the scenes where something's happening, and she shoots the guy. So I'm like, this one must be the married one. I was like, this one's Emily Jackson because she's obviously like a more mature woman because she's
Right.
taking control, and the other one is always cowering down
Yeah.
and scared. So I was like, she must be the miss. So that was I didn't even notice the wedding ring. Never
Do you
would have
know how
got it.
you're
And
supposed to do the Chinese top men?
something obscure like their collars are barely
feet.
different.
Their shoes.
Their feet.
Yeah, their
okay.
shoes.
Their
Their shoes are
shoes.
showing in the
In the
in
hammocks.
scene
Really?
in the bunks where you have
Mhm.
everyone except a couple people are sleeping, and
Yeah.
so all the Chinese men bunk together, and all their shoes are showing, and there's numbers on
And
each
there's-
bunk. And if you look
on the
in the scene where one of them's electrocuted, you can see almost all of their shoes. And
Mhm.
they each have
Yeah.
some of
See,
the
that
shoes
was the
I
most.
just- I didn't like it. It was.
Yeah,
Huh.
I
That's how
would
I
I
felt.
would put that
Shoes
as
was too
the
hard.
very bottom of the
Yeah,
rung
I didn't
for
like that-
clues
that
in the
clue.
game.
I noticed the
Look at
shoes.
their legs.
I noticed that there were shoes in the bunks, and I noticed the numbers, but I didn't notice that, like, I didn't put those things together at all.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
You
maybe
might-
someone
I
wearing
used the numbers in
socks,
different
you
ways.
know?
Yeah.
I thought
Oh,
their
they were
shoes. Did they
shoes.
sleep with their shoes? I thought some of them slept with socks, and some of them were just plain black. I'm like, oh, those are their socks. But then I couldn't see shoes on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
What if they
think
had
there's
socks?
maybe you just want to like be ready to go immediately, like if there's a storm or whatever.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
My-
well,
my
plus your shoes
hardest-
are the boat rocks back and forth, so your shoes are like roll off.
That's
And they
true,
cover
yeah.
their head. They cover their head. Have you noticed? They all cover their faces.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe their shoes help them stay warm more too. So.
Maybe.
But yeah, there's the one guy
Good
sleeping.
point.
When I saw the tattoo on his arm, I was like, and that's where it gets me to a story. I gotta figure out about Senor Nicholas. I have to know his story. he's
Yeah, we'll
either
get
just
to the
a
story in a
womanizer or
second for
something.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
so Platt
Uh,
or George, what?
Yeah,
so
sure.
much.
Yeah. So my hardest was actually George Shirley. I had to go and look up his name because I
Of
was
course.
unable to find out whatever happened to him. He's the guy that was shot out of the freaking ship with the cannon in that scene. Um,
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
yeah. He had
Yeah.
no blood. That was one of my nitpicks.
He
There was
was
no blood left
behind
behind for him.
the gunner.
He was behind the
And
gunner,
then in
and
the-
then
in
the
the next
Kraken
scene-
freaking grabs the cannon,
Yeah.
and then the next scene he's gone. But I just
He got blown out of the ship,
he
literally.
got blown out, literally, exactly. But my brain just, it just
Yeah.
forgot he wasn't in there, and so like I scoured, I don't even know how long, maybe even like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, even like the entire like all his memories. I went over and over and over. I'm like, okay, he died here. What the heck happened? And then finally, I'm like, oh, he's not here in this one scene. He must have, the only logical thing that I can think of, he was blown out of the ship, but that one was tough for me. That one took me a long while.
I don't remember that one. I must have just known it. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, there's
The sounds are horrible in that point. The screams. I had to. That was one of the worst parts.
Dylan
I actually
could
went
have
like this. At one
PTSD from
point,
this
I
game.
went.
yeah.
I remember that part. The noises. All right. Did
Yeah,
Gareth?
this is
Did you
why I
say
was-
what your hardest one was?
I'm not sure what the hardest one was. The figuring out the Chinese top men and the two women passengers, I think, was the harder ones.
Yeah, definitely tricky ones. And then,
So is this one of the latter ones?
Dallin, did
Or
you say
one that
which?
just took the longest time?
This is just like
we-
I don't know, the one that you would consider like the hardest. Maybe you
Wow.
took the most time or stands out, or yeah, whatever.
Because there was a few ones like that George guy. It took me a while because I had him since the beginning of the game as being blown up by the cannon, but then I noticed there was no blood anywhere. So I was like, maybe he just fell out of the boat. So after like 11, 12 hours of gameplay, maybe it was 10 hours of gameplay. Eventually, I said maybe he drowned. Maybe he just fell out of the window and drowned. So then I changed it, and then I got his name right, but then I had the death wrong. So then I had to change that. I think I feel like a complete idiot because I think the hardest person for me, maybe one person that was constantly just yelling at my face was Maba. He's gotten the most tattoos
Oh.
all over his body.
Oh, he was
And
hard.
he
for
was
me
one of
too,
the last
actually.
few people. Like
Yeah.
I was looking for his tattoos. Like I thought Omid Gul was funny. I thought maybe at the end of the game, I thought there was the third mate, the steward guy, the captain gets taken away because he goes crazy, and then the Ahmed guy, and then that one Chinaman that had the. I thought maybe all four of them were at the end in the secret chapter because I could not find them. I just couldn't find them anywhere. So I was thinking like, oh, what could all four of them be doing in there? Like, I wonder what's going on because I know like the
what could they be doing behind that
yeah,
locked door?
because I know the creatures. I know the creatures were gone. Like the creatures had to be hiding in there, so maybe like something was going on. And then eventually, I just see that one guy just falling off into the boat at one point, and I'm like, oh, he's not in there. So the one that I think the last person I figured out was the guy with the turban, Omid Gul, because I just saw him just falling. But the tattoo guy, it's really hard. I could talk forever about it, but the guy with the tattoos took me a lot longer than I would have thought because he was a 2 triangle. He had the tattoos. I actually
He's
can't
one of the
remember my
first
journey with
unblurred
him.
faces, actually, and which led me to a lot of frustration right at the beginning of the game because I was just like, I don't know why I'm supposed to know. So that led me to the glossary to figure out what everybody's position was right there because I was like, okay, there's something I'm missing. So I figured out who all the top men were right there, and I was like, okay, so these are Chinese. The rest of them don't look like weird ethnicity at all, and I know that the turban guy is Persian. I don't know why I knew that. Just I just figured
fair
that's got
guess.
to be the Persian guy.
Right.
So then I was like, the only one left is the guy from New Guinea or whatever. Yeah, and so
I like
that one was pretty
it was.
frustrating.
I like that it was very like ethnically consistent, so you could kind of make those educated guesses of like, okay, I have some knowledge about like these cultures, so I can kind of fit these together.
Yeah, it's like you make assumptions, like trying not to be racist, and you're like, oh, this is like,
Do you look Chinese enough to be Chinese on this list? Yeah.
yeah,
I thought
you're
about
like,
that a few
you're
times.
profiling people. It's like, you're literally supposed to do it.
Yeah, it's like,
That's part of the
I
gameplay.
can't. Yeah.
You have to adjust with the times, man. Back then in 1500s, I guess something.
There
I
you
don't
go,
know.
right?
Who was that glossary at the end was definitely I almost had a lifeboat puns, I guess. But I thought the hardest person out of those people with the titles was the purser. I think is his name. Was the title?
That guy does the money.
Oh no, he's the one that has the little
Yeah,
he has the little
Purser-
stuff for people.
Purser was tough.
Yeah, he runs the shop. I thought he was
I
easy.
thought he was the guy that got hit in the face because he's like, it wasn't my fault. It was the ropes. I didn't kill your brother. That guy, because he was there at every scene, and because he's in charge of like the cargo stuff. But it was the little guy holding the papers
books.
thing.
Yeah, I saw him holding the books, and I was like, I'm on to you.
Mm-hmm.
Bookman.
But he
he's
wasn't part
he's-
of every scene that had
in one
some
of the
that
crab
supply
scenes,
stuff.
he's hiding in his office or in his.
I couldn't
in
find him.
his
Yes,
Oh, I
I was
Store.
gonna
You
ask
have to look through the crack. You know the
Twice.
cracks that we were talking about.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
go around on the hallways. You can see into everybody's little spot there, and he is hiding against the door in his spot. And that's so. I was like, oh, well, obviously he's the person. But you don't know. You're like, is it just coincidental that he was like walking by and was like, oh frick, there's crabs. I gotta get
I
in
gotta
this
get
door.
in this room, yeah.
But because he had like he looked uppity, so then it also like that's what this game does. It like compiles your assumptions on top of each other, and then the scenarios slightly confirm them or really confirm
Right.
them. It's like one or the two. It's just like a nudge, or it's like you better get this. Like it's pretty obvious.
I
Well,
think
thanks for answering that. 'Cause
I think
couldn't find him in those memories. I couldn't find him. And
Yeah.
it says he was there, but I couldn't find him.
yeah, he's there. Yeah.
I think it really
Little booger.
speaks to how well he's. Sorry, it was Lewis who had made. He's the guy who made it, right? That was his name. Lucas.
Lucas Pope.
Lucas. Yeah, Lucas.
Pope.
I think it really goes well to speak to how well he like thought about this whole thing, because you do have to make a lot of assumptions, and he could have very easily made situations where he's subverting your expectations with like, oh, I knew you were going to assume this, but really it's all this other stuff. Like he could have very easily made it like really cheap difficulty like that, where he's constantly like doing that. But more often than not, in fact, I can't even really think of one. There probably is something, but I can't really even think of a thing where I saw it and I made like a pretty reasonable assumption based on what I had gathered, like through like searching and looking and understanding, and it was almost always right, if not every time.
Yeah.
Like he could have
I
easily.
thought about this, and I did come up with a couple examples. One is the helmsman is shown stabbed in one scene, and then you never see him. He's listed as disappeared when he actually gets taken by the Kraken. So he survived, and then in the timeline, he survived the stabbing, and of the crabs, and then was taken away during the doom. But you don't see him in between those scenes. So that was one cheap thing that I saw. It was like, oh, he's trying to mislead you. He wants you to think that he got stabbed and something happened to him.
Really? Because
I think there was one other, but
Who was that?
he's stabbed through the leg, right? But then the Kraken's
helmsman.
kind of lifting him up, right? Is that
That's a
no,
different
there's
scene.
literally a scene in the crabs, like and during the crab attack, I think, or maybe it's when they're leaving. Maybe I don't know, but
It's during the
I know
Kraken
that I
both.
worked out the timeline, and it's before the Kraken he gets stabbed somewhere, and then you don't see him again in any of the scenes,
Interesting.
like until
Interesting, 'cause
when
I-
he's being
I
pulled
wrote
up.
him down. Yeah, I wrote him
Yeah.
down as being torn apart by the Kraken.
Yeah, if
And
you had
it's-
already seen him in there, it's obvious. But if you hadn't seen him, like because he's kind of off a little bit, then that was one thing that kind of would mislead you. But
Right.
I didn't
I
find
remember.
too many of those. I looked pretty hard for misleading ones.
Yeah, and even then, like there's like something as a backup to kind of set your misled, assumptions back to the core. So it's just it's really I just as like a pure experience thing, it's really like feels, I guess, satisfying is the word I'm looking for. It just feels really satisfying to know that you can always come to those logical conclusions, and you're not like constantly second guessing yourself, like, oh, is this what he wanted me to think? Am I being misled, or am I not seeing some kind of weird, obscure thing that he's trying? Like, it's always just like so logically satisfying to just like,
Mhm.
oh, it's so well,
Yeah, it's like
so
the
well
world
done.
is obviously a little bit fantastical because you got these fantastical beasts
Right.
and these things going on in the story, but the game and everything is very serious and very logical. Yeah, it's not
Yes.
like
It's not like a
it's not
game.
gonna
It's just like
yeah.
things played
It's
out.
like a story.
Yeah, like you would expect them
Yeah.
to have played out. It's not like they're trying to metagame you with like, oh, it's a
Yeah.
game, so we're gonna make it all weird and your assumptions are not gonna work. It's just like it's such a pure
Yeah.
experience of solving
Yeah.
things. It's so
Yeah.
great.
No, it's
Yeah.
Interesting.
the story, like the story, the way it goes is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, when I went back and I saw it, the story in of itself, just looking at only the story in chronological order, it's good, but it's not one of those like masterpiece stories with, you know, twists and turns and everything like that. But the way it's delivered through you with
Right.
a lot of it, it's you know, reverse chronological order. You're tasked with figuring out exactly what happened. The way the music just kind of it like builds up, and there's quite a few shocks. Like you guys talking about, we're talking earlier about how your biggest shock was the crab guys. My biggest shock was the Kraken. I knew absolutely nothing, and I thought it was like, oh, you know, a couple people probably died of scurvy, like that kind of. I didn't know we were heading into like Kraken and mermaids and crab people realm. I thought it
See,
was
I
more,
expected,
centered.
I had an expectation for Krakens. I didn't have an expectation of like what I thought was giant spiders at
Yeah,
first,
yeah,
with
dude.
people riding on them that looked creepy.
Yeah.
That was
no,
the difference there for me.
It was,
Seriously.
yeah,
Out of their tails.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
But
thing
yeah,
that
I mean,
made
the
me
way it
jump
was
I
all,
can
was
see
the
the
compass.
Kraken being surprising too.
Yeah.
yeah, it was very surprising to me. I was blown away. I was just completely surprised because it starts with Abigail, you know, she like you hear her yelling and then the scene comes in and she's like you see like tentacles wrapped around poles and masts and the ship and everything, and I was just whoa,
Whoa.
what do I just
Yeah.
stepped into? What is going on, you know? But yeah, like the story, it was it just you know, we've independent of this, you know, podcast, we've had the conversation many times about how games are the peak delivery format of just kind of entertainment because there's no movie that would have invoked the feelings that I had
Right.
while playing through this. There's no book, and
Yeah.
obviously movies can do things that games can never
Sure.
do. Books can do things that both games and movies can never do, but games just in there's certain things that they just completely blow books and movies out of the water.
It feels more like you
Just-
experience it when
Yes,
because
yeah.
you're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, the biggest thing is those
Yeah.
other mediums, those
it's
other
delivered to
book-
you.
Right.
yeah,
It's
books and movies are the same, like for everybody that watches them. They can interpret them differently, but the product is the same. Uh, Games have another thing with them where it's like you can experience things totally different than another
Mhm.
person. Like we were talking about
Yeah.
how we solved and saw different things, but then the story is also the same though. If you go through it, like in this particular game, you're getting both. You're getting a story that everybody's getting that you can talk about with your friends, but then you also have all these side things that you experience that are personal to you as well, and you just get hours and hours of it, but not
That's
enough because I
awesome.
just wanted more.
right. Yeah.
I-
Seriously.
I wonder if this is where kind of. So I think I maybe had the worst experience out of you guys. So I kind of have a little bit more nitpicks on some things.
It's the Dallin
Um,
rant corner.
Let's do
No,
it.
no, I try to be reasonable. I try to
It
be
wasn't an easy
reasonable,
game by any
just because I hope other people are reasonable to me as well about things.
Yeah, to Gareth's point,
'cause-
real quick. I don't want to cut you off too much, but to Gareth's point, yeah, the game is not easy, and it's definitely
No.
not for everyone.
Right.
Oh,
There's definitely I know personally some people that would not enjoy this type of game, partially because of its difficulty, but just kind of the way the game is. But I mean, for me personally, any just praise. I I don't know how else to say it, but anyways, didn't mean to cut you off, Don. Go ahead.
No, I think what Jake was saying was actually a really good point, and it was insightful to me because I wanted to experience more of what the game was showing, because it was like the first analogy I thought of, it was like going to a museum. I appreciate the art and the history that it was, and I could view it, but it wasn't fun. Like I just kind of like.
I'm so glad that you played it though.
I mean, that.
Oh no, like no. What got me
going.
Oh yeah, no. What got me going though was that mystery chapter, or like how it ends.
Oh.
Like, yeah, I know it ends with like
He left the little dangle,
Mhm.
the little dangly
he did,
carrot.
yeah. But if I start something, I have to finish normally. So even if I don't like if I don't like something when I start watching it, it's like, well, I'm invested now. I gotta finish it because part of for me is story. And Jake, I appreciate that you were saying that it wasn't necessarily something different. Where it's like, oh, it's something that you should experience. It's something you experience, like you're there. And for me, I was already predicting what you were gonna say. I was just gonna be like, but I wanted to actually experience it. I want at the end where all of a sudden I open a door and I see that dead crab. That thing haunted me because I was like, what if there's going to be other ones that are living? And there's that mystery room. I'm like, oh, what if like the mermaids were there? Because this is where it gets to the story. And I'm like, I think they were trying to get the mermaids out of there. Like, I wonder what's going to happen. Like, they must still be alive in there. Like, they've been dead for some time, but like, what's in that room? Because I would actually stop in front of that door like an idiot and just stare in the windows. I would sit
I don't
there,
think that's an
like,
idiot
I
thing to
feel
do.
like
I did.
feel like,
I mean,
feel like,
I tried to look in as well.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah,
Okay,
so but I
I'm
really
an actual idiot because I didn't even know where that room was, and I didn't even take time to try and look for it. So,
But I appreciate, Jake, that you said that it was like a mix between experiencing a story and watching it at the same time, because that's what it was. Because I wanted to see them moving. I didn't want to see pictures. I liked looking at them, but it was like a museum. So like I was hoping
that's
that
what
I
makes
could
it so
experience
great,
that.
though, that he was able
it
to
makes it more
create this
pure.
experience
Yeah.
with the limitations that he had on it. Like you just feel like you're on the boat, like there, after you've gone through. And when you start to put it together, you start to feel like you were with them as you put the timeline together. You're like, I was here. I was definitely here for this. Like, I just felt that, and yeah.
I think.
Well, I didn't feel like that. That's
I think the
interesting. I didn't
fact.
feel that way.
I think the fact that he was able to create this situation where Dallin is now craving the experience. He wants the experience. Is just a testament to how well he's done, right? Like Dallin's now like, I need to see this all in action. I want to be a part of this now. It's like he's created such a strong intrigue. And to Dallin's credit, at the end of the game, I was like, I had a thought. I didn't think it was really going to happen, but I was like, man, it would be really nice to see all of this play out. Now that I've like watched it in chunks, it would be cool to kind of see it. Like, I don't think there's going to be any animation in this game because there was like no animation in the game at all. But like, it was just a thought I had of like, it would be nice to see this all play out, but I understand
That would be cool.
restrictions.
Yeah,
and
you only
stuff
see
like
one
that.
living person actually in the whole game. You see only one living person besides your hands.
Yeah, there is animation in the game. You do still walk around and pull out your pocket,
True, yeah.
But people, so no, that's
In
a
the
good.
scenes,
That's a good point.
Yeah, true.
I wish the ending was different, but we can talk about the story.
Well, we're kind of talking
upcoming,
about the story right now, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this part here I could referring more to the ending of the story. But I have some questions. But what should we start with? I'm talking. I guess I'll start with it.
What are your questions?
Well, concerning
It's the
story,
Dallin Show.
well, admittedly, when I first saw the game, the appearance was very good. I loved obviously the look of it, and the look builds the story. I felt actually lost in the
It adds
ocean.
to it
Actually,
at
I didn't.
all, or a lot.
Yeah, I actually didn't. Actually, yeah, I didn't feel lost until I went to the edge of the boat, the ship, and looked out, and I'm like, "There's nothing out here." Like, you almost feel longing for the guy with the boat. It's like, I know I was suffering for 15 hours, but not all of it. But like, that was kind of tempting to just leave. But like that boat, knowing that guy was like the only escape, you actually felt really alone out there. So you actually wanted to figure out, okay, is there anybody on this ship? And then when you see the outlines, it's like, am I actually seeing bodies? Are these just ghosts? Are they like what are these? Because they're not actual bodies really per se. Because then it shows the crab later on looks different from the actual bodies. There's bones. So I was wondering if it was spirits and things like that. But the world and with the music, the opening song I think perfectly portrays it for me. Where the song is like, "Hey, here's a great ride. Like me, Hardy as pirates." Like I felt so good. And then there's
so glad
one
you're saying
part.
this.
Yeah, there's one part of the song though that haunts me, and it was the part that played in my dream. But then it like stops.
Oh my
and it does the
god!
little bell.
See,
Does the bell?
Genius.
Yeah, the bell.
Just the bell.
That's
and
what
I'm
it's
like,
supposed to do. It's so
yes,
great.
something was haunting, and it's like something's haunting, and then it's like, oh, right back to it. All hands on deck, and all having fun. Like, it was so good. The music was super loud, and like there was a few times in the beginning where the music went over each other. This isn't story, my bad, but the world building, I was lost.
How dare you?
The world building was I just got lost in it, even though it was really good. Anyway, that's the beginning for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you.
I'll jump in unless you want to.
No, you can go ahead. I just was agreeing. Like, I don't really have anything particular to say about the story in general. I just think it was really good, and I think they came up with like compelling stuff. Like there was enough things that weren't explained. I know Dallin would like everything to be fully explained, but there was enough things that like you had to make story assumptions, not like puzzle solving assumptions on certain things. There were things like the shell in the box.
Quicksilver or whatever they call it.
Quicksilver, there was stuff like that, and I don't know if anyone noticed. Like, I mean, at the end, obviously, you can tell the shell makes this like aura.
Glowy.
But if you look out
into
the ocean, you can see that there was a freaking aura because they said like take us home, and that mermaid led the Obra Dinn back home. Right?
Yeah, I got that part. Yeah, the mermaid obviously.
Wait. What?
Okay, so sorry. So I assumed everyone had got that, but okay. So at the end,
the light flashing I thought was signifying that there's a memory out there.
No, so
I think that's one of the mermaids is right there.
What it is at the end. At the end, he wanted to go back home. I can't remember who it was because I
think it's the
third mate.
Is it the third mate?
Yeah. He says in return. He says, "Give it the shell."
Give it the shell. They throw the shell to it.
Return her home.
That's right. And as he's dying, I will add, like this dude is trying to save these mermaids, gets literally spiked by them, and then even as he's dying, he's like, "Give them the shell," and he's like, "This is the." That's why it's called the bargain, right? Because the bargain is, I'm gonna give you the shell. You're gonna bring us home. And so then when you look out, and in the distance, at first I thought maybe it's the moon reflecting. Like, I don't know what this is.
I thought that too, but then you see the actual moon's
Then
reflection.
you see the moon reflection. You're like, okay, it's not that. But then, it's the shell. When he said, lead us home, I was like, all of a sudden it clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, the mermaid did lead the Obra Dinn home.
And even though everybody died, she made sure that it
she kept her promise. That's actually really cool.
The ship was in the middle of the ocean when you're exploring it.
The ship. I think it's assumed that the ship.
It was just offshore.
Right, it's offshore.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see any shore.
You just had to row the little boat to it.
Because if you got there in a little boat, it couldn't have been that far, right?
Yeah, I was confused about that. I was like, why would it be a little boat? I can't see any shoreline.
Yeah, you can't see. I guess you just didn't want to add like
buildings
and
a place and
you're close.
You make the assumption.
Was the mermaid?
Yeah, you make the assumption that because it's a little boat.
I thought it had something to do with Quicksilver. I thought it was just kind of magic.
No, the shell was the magic part. The other part was just carrying the shells.
Right.
Yeah.
Why did...
So the Formosa royalty, from what I understand of the story, had these things in this chest, and they were... Yeah, they were... Do you want to take over, Gareth?
No, go ahead.
On the story? Okay. I don't care. I was just trying to do a recap of everything.
No, please.
But like they had these things in the chest, these shells, magic shells. Who knows where they got them? That part's not explained. But
okay.
They were on the boat for transport one way or other. So they were guarding them the whole time. Well, the second mate obviously figures it out or knew beforehand, and goes on a murderous spree to steal them, and he's like gonna run away, and then he ends up having to come back because obviously he gets out there, and the mermaids are like, we know these shells are here, So he goes back and he's like, "Hey, just kidding. I just went out here to get some
It was
stuff."
just a prank.
I brought
Yeah,
back.
just a
Oh,
prank.
is that what the mermaids were? Was the mermaids actually pretending that he was grabbing? Look, treasure.
No, the mermaids were
Was he-
drawn
was
to
he
him.
lying?
So he took the shells and went out to sea, and the mermaids chased him and like murdered his whole crew out there. And then he was like,
But then
"Well,
he
I
had them in the boat.
right." So he's like,
Why
"Oh,
did
well, I
he
have
capture
to. I
the
have to."
mermaids?
What
Why
I
did he
think
capture
Dallin's
the
saying is
mermaids,
he was
though?
referring to them as the treasure because that's what he had to come back with. Like after everybody died,
I think
he was like, "I have to go back to the Obra Dinn."
He had
Yeah,
to
he
go
was
Was he
back.
referring to them as treasure?
Yes,
Along
he
some
was
of the
referring to the
bodies were
mermaids as
gone.
the treasure. And
Okay, because
Maybe-
so
was
he was
he?
using it as a bargaining thing. Well, because if you're a sailor, I know that people, they're not whalers, but you take things from the ocean. Maybe it could be some valuable. 'Cause
anyway, I
a
think
lot of
that's
bodies are gone.
inconsequential.
and
Sure,
there's
I
mermaids.
mean, yeah.
Well, I
he,
was wondering.
he just
I'm
wants back
wondering
on the
about
boat.
The chest.
He's coming back after
Right.
he killed people to leave the boat,
Right.
multiple people, and kidnapped people, and he knows there's
Friends.
people
And
pissed. So he's
stole.
just trying to say whatever. He's like, I yield, let me back
Yeah.
on. I've got stuff. Is basically what he's saying. So they kill him, but
It's
anyway,
such a good
all hell
voice.
breaks loose
Dang it.
because of these. They've captured these mermaids with the shell, and then
And he even
what-
ends up framing, what's his name, the Formosan guard guy.
yeah, he framed that guy before he even left the boat.
Yeah, before, yeah.
exactly.
Mhm. That's why he
I'm
gets shot,
confused
because the
with
Formosan guy knows that he framed and captured these
He's
other
saying
people,
loud, that's what
and
it
he says, and the funny thing is, you could assume that he would kill him no matter what he's saying, but I bet you that guy who shot him didn't even understand what he was saying.
Yeah, that's quite
Right?
possible.
He was
Well,
probably
just
saying,
knew-
"Don't
I mean,
shoot, I got treasure," and he's probably just like, "I don't care what you're saying, it doesn't matter
Yeah, you
because
killed
I'm going
my
to shoot you
friends.
anyways."
You kidnapped
stole
my
the
people.
Yeah.
So I'm.
So
Killed
because
my
of these
queen.
magic
I mean,
shells,
let me-
whatever they do, it brings the crabs and it brings the krakens and it brings the end. That's
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
They're the magic
well, wait.
conch from SpongeBob.
Wait, I thought. Dang it! Wait, so if the shell is valuable and they give it the shell at the end, why does the shell burn them also in the ocean? What was those things that
it's
shot off
magic.
in the air?
It's the magic.
It was
in the
magic.
shell.
But why would? But
Why
if
would it
they
burn the
wanted
mermaids,
shell,
is what
why
you're
is the
asking?
shell? Yeah, it's like, oh hey, I really want this shell. It's valuable. Oh wait, now it's killing me. I still want
I
it.
thought it was
Like,
the chest that did the
was it
killing.
protecting
Yeah,
the
I was
mermaids?
assuming that the chest was like
Uh,
magical.
Yeah.
The chest.
Maybe
Okay,
it
so
Why
was-
did it
here's
only
a
attack the
question.
mermaids?
When-
it burns
when
the
they-
guy and the mermaids get attacked.
When they opened
by
the
those
chest,
fiends.
did the chest absorb the shells from the mermaids, or did the chest shoot and kill the mermaids?
Well, the mermaids
I think
didn't.
well, I don't
The
know.
guy
how
No, I think the
burned
deep
shell
it
was
is.
already there.
The shells were
Because
already
he
there.
says
Yeah,
a
the
shell,
shells
it
were
must
there.
be protected.
Okay.
I think he says that while they're on the little boats.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And-
So
and to
okay.
answer
The guy that
Dallin's
opens it gets
question real
burned.
quick, to answer Dallin's question, like think about it like a magic wand. If you shoot out fire out of the magic wand, you still want the magic wand because then you can be the one shooting out fire. That doesn't mean the fire won't be deadly, regardless of who's shooting it out. That's kind of how I saw the shell.
How
Or
are the
the
mermaids
chest.
alive then?
Because the mermaids are able to
Like-
like use it properly. Because okay, so think about it like this: when they had that box and they put the shells in the box, it was water, right? There was water in that box, or at least what I assumed was some kind of liquid
Yeah,
to
it
keep
looked like
them
water.
cool, right? But when they take the shells out, it like burns you, right? Does it not?
I thought it was this quicksilver in the chest that was protecting. It was meant to keep you from getting it out.
Maybe.
But it
Yeah.
didn't.
That's why that guy's
Yeah.
hand gets all like
I think it's
withered.
huge.
Right, because he takes the shell out and it like burns his hand.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, I
true.
assumed
So-
3 layers of magic. I assumed 3 layers of magic here. The shell is magic itself, then the quicksilver is magic protecting the shell, and then the chest is
chest.
also magic
Containing
itself
everything.
because it's containing both of those. And when it has some sort of
Hmm.
incantation on it, when it opens it, it's gonna like protect it from specific things. Because for most people know about the mermaids, they already know they're coming before they ever get there. They're like, we know they're coming, you idiot. Why are we out here? So
Right.
What are those beams of light then that are coming out of it? It looks like it's hurting the mermaids,
yeah, it just like knocks
but
them
then
out.
the mermaids get pulled. But then the mermaids get pulled on board. They're not dead. They're not
Yeah, they're
burned.
knocked out.
They find them alive. So is it whoever holds the chest maybe can control it? That's why the guy opens it. The guy opens it to then turn it on the mermaids.
Maybe.
Yeah, he knows what it's gonna do when it opens it. Think about it. They already
Like an
captured
Indiana Jones
the
thing.
shell from the people. They know what it's. They have some sort of magic to battle these mermaids already. They know about them, so they have
I
special
got it.
things on the chest to do this because they know
Right.
that it might be a thing that happens.
Gotcha.
Very interesting.
Cool. Because I was wondering just about the path of the chest because you find it in there when he frames the guy. Then they take it out, and then the mermaids want it. Yet they put the chest right there next to the mermaids, even though they're in prison. It's right next to them.
Well, they're trying
Anyway,
they're probably trying to avoid more issues with the mermaids, right? If they at least put it maybe with the mermaids in that room, and at least maybe they'll call off the Kraken or calm the frick down or something.
So there's obviously association with the mermaids and the Kraken, but the mermaids use spears similar to the seaweed crab people. I was under the impression the whole time that the mermaids get captured, the crab sea guys, because the crab guys came in then afterwards, right? Before
Yeah,
the crab.
directly after.
So
Yeah,
they-
everything bad happened after they got captured. Yeah.
Exactly. I thought those crab guys, which I'm confused. Where's the body of the seaweed guy? Like, there's the crab inside that thing, but his body's gone. Wouldn't you find a seaweed guy somewhere? Unless I threw him off, but kept the crab. Anyway, he like.
Yeah, that's
I thought
weird.
they were going there to rescue. I thought they were going to rescue the mermaids, and then that doesn't work. Then the Kraken then comes. It's like all three of them are kind of there to kind of rescue this injustice, and that's why the Kraken, unless if attacked, that's why all of the people that were actually attacked by the Kraken, unless if directly attacked, they were drowned instead of actually attacked. The Kraken actually only killed people that attacked him.
What about the guy who was pooping though?
Yeah,
Oh, that was
the guy who
good.
pooed himself to death.
Everybody think that. That was Xana
That was an
a-
accidental. The Kraken didn't mean to squish him as he
Okay,
was coming up.
I just thought there was a reasoning why there was a little Kraken. And people drown. Like I thought the Kraken maybe there was something going on because it could eat. I put down that people got eaten, strangled, or like torn apart by him, and it was always
I
drowned.
don't.
But yeah,
I
that guy
don't.
was taking the craziest doozy of his life, and when bones started cracking, I'm like, that's not good. Xana was actually laughing a little bit because I was like, my face after it showed the picture, I'm like, he ain't pooping. Like I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't think I would attribute the Kraken, given everything that happens in that. I don't think I would attribute any kind of niceties to the Kraken of not murdering people.
All
Yeah.
three. I was just wondering why the ones that were by his mouth drowned.
Because
instead of
it's
getting eaten.
easier to grab someone and yeet them off the ship into the water than it is to crush them or tear
But
them
to be
apart
honest,
or anything.
the guys that were in the boat they probably just got knocked back from him
Yeah.
coming up. Like
Yeah,
he probably didn't
probably.
even do anything to them. Other than just accidentally
Yeah.
Well, the helmsman.
overflow them or fling them in the air, and then they just obviously drowned because it was like storming at the same
Right.
time. There's no way they could tread water.
Yeah, exactly. So were they rescuing the mermaids, or were they all trying to rescue the mermaids and get the shell?
They were trying probably
both.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the mermaids were like the Aquaman of the ocean. You know, they can call upon everything.
Yeah, and the bargain was.
I was
to
just wondering.
Kraken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's cool because I thought the story was kind of like, and I was just interested, but like, it was interesting because the main people that we think are kind of good but stupid at the same time, they say an enemy, called them the sea people enemies, but yet they were always labeled as beasts in the book, and that's why I thought maybe that one's drowned instead of torn apart. I'm like, actually, maybe the boat people that we've been observing are actually the enemies to the sea, and that's why none of them were actually labeled as.
Wow. You went.
Anyway.
Yeah,
That's
you
so
went like
far
way
around.
above. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I thought that they were justified because that's why the book never labeled them as enemies.
So I
but
think
as-
that you had such a problem with this game because you're too smart and you were like looking for crazy stuff that like Lucas Pope was not even thinking about, and you're like rewriting the whole thing.
5 out of my 15 hours were me literally doing like wandering around watching people dying constantly. I think
So
it
who
was
saw
about
the
that's why
who
I
saw the
suffered.
very end coming with the monkey paw? Did anybody see that coming?
Mm,
that was a mermaid. Wasn't that a mermaid's claw?
No,
That was the monkey.
Oh,
He
sorry.
kills his monkey. So that
kills
that
the
was the one
monkey.
thing that I wish
That's a
they would have
big monkey
explained
paw.
a little
Holy
bit
cow.
more is how the pocket watch works.
Mhm.
Like that's part of the story that is just kind of assumed that it's a magical pocket watch. And so because of that, you're able to see kind of in the past previous
But
memories.
does it need to be explained?
Not really.
No,
I
it
kinda-
doesn't. It was one of those things where I wish I would have gotten that information, but not having it does not detract
Right.
from the
Well,
experience.
see, it actually makes me hopeful that that maybe there's a sequel
continuation.
prequel where
Yeah.
we see this. What's the surgeon's name who has the pocket watch?
Yeah.
Evans.
What's his name?
Yeah.
Dr. Evans, I think.
Evans. That's what makes me hopeful for a prequel sequel, because he already had the pocket watch and knew how it worked, and he's
True.
obviously
That's
done this
true.
Has to
He's
be a
done this before, and he has he likes it for some reason. Like, it just, maybe it was just like a coincidence he was on that boat, but he has obviously been making these books and doing this kind of investigation with this on his own. He has like a need to do it because he wants you to send the book back to him. Like he wants it. Like, there's some weird thing going on with him. Like,
I mean, unless he was sick after, so I don't think there'd be a sequel.
No.
He
no,
died.
like a prequel sequel though, scene where he got the
Oh, I see. Yeah.
and using the pocket watch more beforehand,
Right.
because all this happens after.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what he'll do. I wonder if he will make a sequel or not, or a follow-up game.
I don't know. He should just do something totally different and amazing.
Yeah, maybe not touching it is probably a smart thing. Because I mean, the ending. I was really looking forward to what would happen in the ending, and with the whole just the captain stabbing mermaids, I was just like,
Yeah, that was sad.
I'm like, yeah, that was sad, but I was like, oh, that's what the secret room was. Like, I didn't even think of what ifs. I was like, oh, dang, why did they keep this a secret? It's just Captain's already a jerk. Like, I don't know. And then the ending, I kept on turning. I'm like, hey, why can't I look at this lady that's talking to me? I got this little T. And then when you watch it, and then it's like, don't message us back ever again. The guy's dead. We don't ever want to talk about this. And then you put the book up on a shelf, and I'm like, oh, okay.
You're done.
Solve
That's
this case, and it's like, oh yeah, he's dead, and we don't want to talk about this. The end.
You solved it.
I was so interested. You solved it, but that wasn't satisfying. When for me, when I was like, what's gonna happen? Like, what's the ending? But then I stepped back, and I was like, you know what? Like, maybe the ending was supposed to be not as crazy, but the ending was supposed to be like the satisfaction of putting these souls to rest in a way and writing off certain people that were good people, while then justly accusing the people that did do wrong things, and then you just putting it up on the shelf and move on to the next chapter of your life. And then
Yeah,
the credits say this was from dad, so I thought of it more respectable than an actual cool ending.
Right, because you're an investigator, right? Like, you're a detective. You're, the real treasure was the deaths we made along the way.
Yeah, so the game part of the ending is like you get to see how much money you saved or paid out for the insurance claims, and I guess that's cool.
Yay.
I did read like all that stuff, and it tells you like who was good and who was like really bad. But the reason I say the thing about the prequel sequel is because the only reason, and this is necessary for the last chapter, the secret chapter, to go back, like he could be off the Obra Dinn and go back, is that he knows that he can do this by killing the monkey and leaving the monkey body, or taking the monkey paw rather. Yeah, like
true.
It just has to be a death in that instant that will take you there from anywhere you're at.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that thing that he used to tie the story, like to get you off the Obra Dinn and then back on, just made me think about what this guy's been up to with this pocket watch this whole time.
True.
That was almost more interesting to me than the shells. Like, I think that might be the point for me, is like that's more interesting than the shells. Whatever, magic shells, everybody died on a boat. No.
Yeah. What about the pocket watch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pocket watch is the most interesting part of the game, and you're using it the whole time, so it just becomes trivial. But it's actually the most interesting part.
Yeah.
Okay. For the sake of time, why don't we move quickly to music, and then we can, and if there's no other like areas that we want to touch specifically, we can move on to like our closing thoughts. What do you think?
Sure.
I'm sure Dallin has something to say about music. I know he does.
Yes.
His notepad. Yeah.
I've already said a little bit, but
yeah.
I don't remember that opening song you guys were referring to.
It's in the credits. The credit, like right when you turn the game on, and
The
you let the note
menu.
kind of sit there on the menu.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started the game right away, so the only time I heard it was in the OST. I went
Yeah, I
online.
listened to the. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did
I
you?
I really loved the music, the weaving of music into not just like the game to make the game kind of pop, right? I think it was well placed, but I really like the way they used the music to make you feel something specific, like
Mm-hmm.
dread or my favorite part of the music was when you were uncovering parts of the book and the violin is I believe it's a violin is going like and it's like revealing it like you're having some kind of like euphoric understanding is being brought to you and it's like the book is like playing and I don't know what
It's like
you know
adventurous. It's
yeah
like
it's
you're
like
going on
a
an adventure.
it's like, but it wasn't for me. It was more like a revelatory kind of thing. Like your mind was like
Okay.
expanding. Like here's this information, and like the like a deeper. I don't know music very well, but like there's like a deeper instrument going like a bass line, like boom boom boom, as you like go into this like revelation of the things that like this chapter is now opening to you, kind of thing. I thought it was like, it just made me feel like I feel so like so much is being revealed now along with this music because like it would point when you come to a chapter and you're revealing it for the first time it would open to that chapter and it would sit at the blank pages and it would wait for that part in the song when it would then go and start to reveal everything and I just felt it was such a beautiful touch of like revelation that was my favorite highlight for the music for sure.
Yeah, yeah. My favorite highlight was how the songs not got increasingly more complicated. I fail to express this properly, but at one point is it's a song is a little bit the beginning song is still very very in your ears in your face. It's very
It's
obvious,
it starts
but
off with a oomph. It's like doom
yes,
doom doom boom doom
yes.
boom.
But
Yeah.
then it gets more. Then like strings come in, and then
Right.
bells
Yep.
come in, and it just builds on itself. And like you know, it plays so perfectly to the revelations that you're starting to get.
Mm-hmm.
I think the very first spike is indeed, maybe it's not, maybe I'm misremembering, but I know there's spikes in music, kind of when the bells come in and the strings come in and all that stuff, is when the Kraken shows up, when the crab people show up, um, and sometimes I don't know. I think Dallin, maybe you mentioned it that sometimes the music was kind of loud. I absolutely loved that. I played with headphones sometimes, and then sometimes I played through my because I don't want to put headphones on all the time. But when I played with headsets, I kind of went back and just did it that way because you would have the music just in your ears, just blaring as you're seeing the scene full of death and just bodies being spiked, especially the times where there was the crab people. They're getting spiked and they're getting shot at, and it's it helped build so much. And you're walking around and you're seeing the still shots of this chaos, and the music just creates this haunting feel. And I don't know, I'm not very musically inclined either. The only thing I can say is that the music, aside from like the game, like the actual satisfaction that comes from playing it the first time, the music is something that I'm gonna, I can't forget the game. Maybe 10 years from now I'll be able to replay it completely forgotten. But the music is just one of those things that I listen to it now and it
The
evokes those same
feelings.
feelings that I had, yep,
Right.
while playing the game. I've listened to the OST, maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
Dang.
I'll get the itching for, man, I want to listen to that music again. It's just
It's
by
perfect for any
itself,
time.
yeah, by itself, it's already fantastic. And then
It's
you
amazing.
add this amazing game, this amazing experience with the way it's told and all this stuff on top of it. Masterpiece.
Yeah, it just
Absolutely
like has
fantastic.
this amazing music and then those feelings and it just like
Hmm.
I know what you as you were describing like those segments of the game with that music like cuz I had a trouble remembering the music but when you were explaining it I just like remembered the songs that would come in
Yep.
when it was like doing stuff, and I was like, ah, yes, yeah, that's
Yep.
true, that's true.
Yeah. Were you gonna go, Jake?
I'll wait. I'll wait. It's
Okay.
fine.
Well, I've already said some things already, and just hit rewind if we wanted to rehear it, I guess. But I don't know if this is me being a sick frick or something, but like for some reason, the things that were
Can't wait for this.
amazing, like the music was amazing. The music was so good, and it haunted me because I really wanted to like it. Like before, it like really egged me on to do more. There was a few times where it was the absence of music that also haunted me. When I would go the further, like the sound of the rain, like I would sometimes literally go on the top of on the deck and go through my book just so I can hear the rain in the background as I was going through the book. And then the deeper you got, like it just seemed like the story was going to get darker the deeper you got into the story, because eventually you would just hear the moan of the ship and the water a little bit. Like
Yeah, the
I
audio
felt
design
uneasy.
was
I almost felt
fantastic.
like,
So good.
oh, the sound design was incredible. As me trying to do sound design for film, like this is inspiration. I've actually already referenced this game to some sound designers that are actually helping make movies. But there was a few times where when I'd see a body, even though the sound of people dying was horrible, sometimes I'd go into a memory, hopefully to find clues, but just so I could at least hear some of that music again. So I don't know if that's me being sick or something.
I don't
But
see how that
it's
makes
like,
you sick.
Not
I just
sick,
won't look
it's
in that
just-
direction. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
Normally
think
the music was good when it wasn't really bad, like there's a few cool moments, just something accidental happens. And then some of the music, I forgot what part it was. There's a part where I think the floor where you can walk around the sides. There's one song where I was like, just keep it going. Like, I love the song. And yeah. It really creates an environment. It was very environmental, not just sounds, but music. I felt like I was living Pirates of the Caribbean in some horror massacre Clue game, and it was very cool.
Yeah, that's
pretty much it.
good
Yeah.
description.
That's what they'll say.
Yeah.
Pirates
And
of the
I'm bad at Clue,
Caribbean
man.
kind of thing while playing a really weird, morbid puzzle game. All right. Perfect.
Clue specific.
But it is
So,
like
yeah.
it was like Clue, and I don't like Clue. I won for the first time last year in my 20-some years. Jeez Louise.
We got a Clue update too. 2021 Clue updates.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the new Clue. Who's next?
Clue 2.
Yeah, Clue 2, yeah.
Those chess players are still waiting for chess 2. I mean, come on. Some people have to wait longer than others.
All right.
Most recent update.
Gareth.
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to the music, I guess, as much as you guys did, and certainly I just opened the credits so I could hear it. It definitely has catchy music, but definitely the silence of when you're not in a memory is kind of deafening. Just like
Mm-hmm.
there's no one here.
Yeah.
Creaking of the
Empty
ship.
ship.
Good.
Yeah, and as
Good.
you go
Good
deeper
juxtaposition.
as you go deeper into the ship, which corresponds with how far into the story you go, or how far back into the story you go. Really, it kind of gets creakier and all of that too.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, that is kind of a good juxtaposition of like when you're on the ship by yourself, no one's alive, there's no music. But when you're listening to things happening, people alive, there is music. That is kind of like yeah. I didn't think about that. All right, Jake, do you have some closing musical thoughts?
Yes, I do. I'll just kind of wrap mine together. I'll do music and then my closing thoughts
Sure.
because it kind of goes same. So I'll knock both mine out at the same time. Yeah, the music is really amazing. I think it's actually, I don't know, it's really hard to choose between the music being my favorite part and just the game itself, but I guess it's really not, because it is cohesiveness is my big thing. You kind of see when you play a game like this, and this game has changed the way I'm looking at games from now on. I'll just say that, right? Like, I am so grateful there are people like Lucas Pope out there doing the work that they're doing on these types of games, because it is amazing. He's a genius, he's dedicated, and he's creative beyond, like, I'll live 2-3 lifetimes and not be this creative. I just don't understand it. But you start to see when you play games like this how one person working on every facet of the game is a really big reward if that person is good at what they're doing, because he wrote the story, he did the programming on the game, the artwork, he did the music. The music was added to Spotify on this year actually, which is funny because we're playing its
Oh wow.
2018 game, but it was just added to Spotify. So there must have been a need for it. People are like, come on, man, let's get this up here
Give it
so I
to
can
us.
stream it.
Yeah.
Stop listening to it on YouTube. But yeah, it's the game comes way more. You were talking about it popping. The game becomes way more alive with the music, which is what music's supposed to do. All the sound design is amazing. And not to overlook the voice acting, all the weird noises from everybody dying and just other things happening. The little plays, the little radio plays you get beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
You can close your eyes and just really like once you've got stuff in your head, you can go back and listen to those with your eyes closed and just be like, yeah, I can see it all happening. Like I can imagine these pixels moving now. I've seen them so many times in like so many different frames. But then the music kicks in and it's crazy because this game has it's every single scene is about somebody dying, right? So he could have easily just made the music like the opening part with the Kraken or something, just like dread the whole time, right? Because it's always something like pretty bad happening. It's not ever a good thing happening. But he does those moments really well with the dread, like with the Kraken and stuff. It's just horns, strings, and the bells, and a little bit of drums, just all in different like way up here with the bells and some of the strings, and then like way down here with the horns and stuff. And I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going with that.
Horns and strings.
Making it come alive. Like he could have easily just made everything dread and everything like really sad, but he doesn't do that. He takes the opportunity to sprinkle that in while also trying to tell the story and fill in the blanks in between by making you feel like you're on an adventure, because the songs are very adventurous. Like I just can listen to them over and over again, and it's like it's telling you a story just like the game is with the music, and together it's just crazy. So it just goes back to the whole cohesiveness thing of like this guy's a genius. Like I would love to just meet him and shake his hand and be like, man, I just can't believe what you do. This is like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So yeah, the music being the way it is, where it's just it really makes you feel like you're on the boat. Like my favorite one, I think, is probably the opening one, Return of the Obra Dinn, if you have it on Spotify. But my second favorite one, almost maybe tied, is called Escape. It's the really short chapter where everything's finished pretty much. It's right before the end. The Kraken has left, and the four people that actually escaped off the boat finally get on it. That track is just like something good's happening in that one for once. Like these people are going to get off and live, like hopefully. Like you do find out that they did later,
right?
But the track itself is kind of conveys that while also conveying like the urgency and the doom and the dread that's happened, like all in one. But it doesn't overdo like the dread part and just make the game feel dull. Like it's poppy, it's jumpy, and it makes you feel like you're on that boat.
I'm listening to it right now, and you're right. It does definitely evoke the feelings kind of that chapter. That's for sure.
And that's another thing. Every single title is just the chapter, the title of the chapter, and I encourage you guys to listen to it. And then also there is on the Spotify one. I don't know if you can find this anywhere else. There's some covers that like some re-records that he did. The woodwind ones aren't that great, but there's ones called grand covers that take the whole song and put it together more, because the way they're meant to be played is like in the separate scenes. So there's kind of these little spaces in them. Between the scenes. Like it's the whole chapter, but there's little breaks in it. And some of those grand covers that he did kind of puts those together and puts more of a full orchestra feel to it.
Wow.
And makes it like, wow, like this could be in any
I'm definitely going
like AAA movie. And yeah, I still like the originals better, I think, but it's really cool to see like, oh, if we didn't have to have these breaks in here, and if we were going to be a little more heavy-handed with it, like a movie, like this is how it would sound. Right. And it just felt like, oh my God, I can't wait for the Obra Dinn movie now. That's just what it feels like.
Dang.
So that's my closing thoughts on it.
We'll
like
never have an Obra Dinn movie because it just won't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Right, yeah.
that's my closing thoughts. The music was one of my favorite parts, and Lucas Pope is a genius. And playing this game has completely changed how I'm going to look at games and the type of experiences I want out of games. I did not think I was going to like this at all. I thought it was going to be interesting. I had no idea it was going to grab me like it did. So much so that the next game that we're playing is kind of based off, like, my pick is based off playing this game. I don't know if it'll be like anywhere near the same, but
We'll see.
anyway, that's my closing thoughts.
Very nice. Awesome. Okay.
Have you played Papers, Please?
No, but
I
I
have
want to
not,
play
no.
it.
Yeah.
If it's
I
by
haven't
Lucas
played it
Pope,
yet.
I'm gonna play it.
Wait,
So-
did Lucas Pope do Papers, Please as well?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, this guy is a genius. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
I have not played Papers, Please. I do not want to look. Like I've seen still shots of it. But
Papers,
I don't wanna
Please
look into
is-
the game
Is
so that I can come at it fresh.
is
and
yeah,
enjoy
it's
that.
really good.
Oh.
It's really good. Dallin will not like that game either. Dallin will hate everything about that game.
I heard about it. Well, I mean, I had to change my look at this game and not think of it as a game, and think of it as a challenge and a puzzle. I definitely got back on board. So
Well, you said that it wasn't an experience you enjoyed. I think for similar reasons you wouldn't enjoy Papers, Please, but maybe you just need to
Well, I mean,
avoid
yeah.
his games.
yeah, I'll be very cautious when I approach because there was a point when I was. And it's tough for me to say this because I really like this game, but there was a point where I said I will never play a mystery game again because of how. Just because
That's
it was
funny because
like-
I'm opposite. Now all I want
Yeah.
to do is play a mystery game.
Like I
Yeah.
said, it's not. This game is not for everyone, but it doesn't
But I
detract
still
from
think
how
it's-
good it is.
Well, that being said,
Oh, yeah. It's a
Dal,
great game.
what are your closing thoughts then on the game?
Oh, me? Sorry, on my screen you're pointing at not me. So me.
Yes, Dallin.
I guess he's okay. My closing thoughts. We didn't talk too much about gameplay, but this is where I'm gonna veer into some of my thoughts about it. In the when I started playing the game, and I guess the first few hours, I didn't like how I couldn't like sprint. I didn't like how I saw like a little like white light that led me places because I would end up getting to that location, and like the beginning of Genshin Impact, I'd have to Paya whatever. I had to run back to the Paimon. I had to run back to the body, and the light was
Papaya.
waiting for me.
Yeah, you have to follow.
Oh
the
yes,
light,
you have to
Yeah,
watch it even.
It
yeah.
really doesn't want you to get lost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know, but I made it right to it every single time. Every single time I made it to where I was supposed to go, and I'm just like following it. I'm like, all right, here's the body, and then I see the light go around something else. Like, okay, I'll play your game.
Yeah, it is
So
a
I
little
walked
obnoxious
around
like
things.
that. Yes.
So it did that, and the part where you would watch a scene, sometimes I wouldn't be done observing it, and it would be closing in, and I'd be like, no, no, no. And then, like,
Yeah.
there's some parts where I had everything I needed, and then I'm like, all right, let's speed it up. I found everything I need, and then and I ended up getting it all correct. Did anybody scare themselves with the pocket watch when I was observing something? It'd go like da da da, and if you accidentally click again, it goes.
Yeah,
"Dun."
there's
And I'm
one
like-
thing you can do is if you jump into a body from another memory, like instead of going out the door, it like
Yeah.
scares the heck out of you. Yeah, that
Yes.
was like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
too. I'm like, I started I could almost just start sweating just thinking about it because it was just.
Yeah.
I'm playing it at night. I'm like, I'm gonna play this with all the lights off, with my headphones
my
blazing,
gosh.
and it just. But like, what I learned,
Okay.
kind of similar to how I've approached some other another recent franchise within the last years. Without getting into specifics, I wanted a more bang of it, like an ending with certain things. But this game really does. Just the amount of time that I would just be literally like this with my hand on my mouth, I'd just be like this. I'm like, I'm playing a game. I'm just clicking stuff. Like the fact that this game slowed things down and like it's like, hey, walk this way. Hey, here's. It had its own pace. It had me kind of. I had to like. I thought about it differently, kind of like what you guys encouraged me because you guys heard me talking about it a whole bunch early on. I started taking it more of a reverent, slow, respectful approach, and I'm glad I did because he ended the game with saying for my dad, and I'm like, right now I can't say anything bad about this, but there
Yeah,
was
I
times
forgot
like I
about
said,
that.
Yeah, it was super touching. Like, it was really cool. If I had somebody make a game like this for me, like, wow, like amazing. But my so closing remarks, is along those lines. One of those things is that some
Starting
things
now.
that I wish that I wanted. One of the things I like appreciated was how different it actually was. I guess, nice to take a change, even though I literally spent 2 hours at times, literally finding nothing and hating it, and like it would just bother me. But like the end goal and actually talk about the story, you guys telling me some things that I missed out. I'm so grateful that we got to talk about this, like the whole monkey paw thing about getting the just like with the creatures and stuff. Like I love story and I felt like it fell short, but hearing what you guys got from it, I'll experience something so different. That's what I really liked about this was that one thing you saw later on in the game, George, that was one of the first things I found in the first 2 hours. With my luck, actually, it was 3 or 4. But like this game, I don't know if I would ever play it again. But there's one thing that I would really wish, because like I feel like you couldn't make a movie out of this. Have you seen Knives Out? It kind of reminded me a little bit of that. I love that whole mystery thing. I really love it in a movie setting, but playing it as a game, I wish it'd be so cool that they had a multiplayer version of this where all of us went to different parts of the ship. And if we said we found something, like, hey, I found something, like, you guys ready? Like, all right, sure, let's do this. And then somebody would click on a dead body and then we'd all see the same vision, but we'd all be searching at the same spot and like, hey, look what I found. Like, cool. It's like, all right, we're done with this memory. All right, close out. Since you started it, you end it, boom. And we all appear back where our bodies were, like you do in the actual game. I thought I'd pick up a game like this if it was multiplayer in a heartbeat. I think that would be so cool to try to. It was cool to be alone in like the vastness of the game, but like I don't know. Did you guys think about that at all? Like a multiplayer version? I thought that would
Now
be
that you
so
mention it,
cool.
now that you mention it, maybe not the exact same format of Obra Dinn, but a mystery game kind of like that where you're a team of detectives
Right.
would be kind of cool.
It would be
Like,
kind of
yeah,
cool.
that would, yeah.
So I
I
would
think
really
my whole
like
point of my closing remark was like I think that this game was so good because he was doing it by himself and he didn't get wrapped up into like. Would this game be what it was
yeah.
if he had another programmer or developer and was like, "Hey, what if we did like this right here instead of this?" Like without having that, like this is what somebody can make, and it's just like unlike anything I've ever seen. So, I'm not saying I would be opposed to multiplayer, but was never thinking about it the entire time playing it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh well, just because I noticed that you guys like hit a wall and then like amazing, and I never hit that really amazing part. And I wanted to see what you guys were getting from it, and so yeah, I could talk a lot about this game, and I already have. I really liked it. Is it a journey I would walk through again? Probably not. I'd
Well, you
probably
can't
suggest
really.
it to.
Yeah.
And you
That's,
can.
like,
So that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of something
Yeah.
interesting about it, isn't it? Is you can't experience it. Like I can play. I guess. Yeah.
I did a
this makes me
speed
a little
run of it.
sad.
I guess you can. I mean, I guess the same could be said for other games. Like you can never really have the first same experience of like Dark Souls, right? Like you'll never have that same wondrous experience of going through the
Yeah.
world. But I guess
Yeah.
so. I guess it's not too dissimilar.
And it makes me sad because you guys were able to experience it so well in this light, and I loved the scenery. I loved everything. I loved the entire trail. It's just
It
just
sounds
was
like you
really tough to get
actually,
there.
now that you're done with it, like yeah, you had some
In retrospect.
nitpicks, but you sound like you're very passionate about it and you liked it actually.
Oh, when I get into something, you want me on your team, man.
So
not
I
not if
think
it takes you
trying to,
15 hours to solve the mystery, Alan.
It took me freaking 15 hours and 16 minutes. I took out 15 minutes
knows
because
that-
of all the
how many
chatting we've
seconds?
done.
right.
Well,
The game doesn't tell
well,
you.
Dallin, take this perspective and channel it into the next game we're gonna play because it's gonna be
boy,
very
yeah, boy.
similar. So
As soon as Jake said, "Hey, we're gonna play a game just like Obra Dinn," I was like,
No, it's not just like, but it's inspired. My pick is inspired by it.
don't worry, it's
Okay.
even better. You'll love it.
despite the path for this game, the game was amazing. Like
Well
hands
said.
down.
Well said, Gareth.
Despite what you think, it was amazing.
I second those. It was definitely a hard game at times. It was very frustrating just because like there must be something here I'm missing,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually you'd find it. You'd go back. There were like Dylan said that there was a sprint button, at times, especially towards the end, it's like I need to go down 3 floors to
Uh-huh.
this other body. I know I can picture the scene. I just need to look at it again.
Uh-huh.
It's like,
Yeah.
I wish there were, towards the end, I wish you could jump between the bodies, but
Yeah, I did wish that too,
other
but
than that, it's like I don't think I'd change anything really.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like
it
the
was-
I
slow
feel like that's
factor,
on
actually.
purpose though, because he wants you to get such a good, like, he wants you to get the boat ingrained in your mind. So you have to keep going back to these bodies. And I would feel like on these trips from one section to another, I would be thinking about something on the way walking there, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh snap, like I gotta go do this now. And
There's
I don't
also
know.
the environmental noises as you're going throughout the ship, where like you really like feel being there more if you know, rather than if you could just flip through the book and be like, all right, take me to here, kind of thing.
But real quick, I did want to say I did have a lot of these same grievances that you guys had about the game. It's just, and I actually had them ready, prepared to talk about all of them, but it just didn't, like, I'd rather talked about like the
Yeah.
stuff that I said.
I
Like,
agree.
Exactly. The positives are better than the negatives.
Yeah, but I'm glad you guys brought it
general.
up, because every single thing you're saying, I 100% agree with. There is
Yeah.
a part where this game feels so daunting that it feels like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But when you tip over that point, it's just great. Like, you don't look back.
I was gonna talk about that in my
Yeah.
closing remarks.
George,
I'm
But
sorry.
Continue,
I
Gareth.
might not have gone through the whole thing if we weren't playing the game for the game club.
Agreed, and that's why. Thank you.
yeah.
It takes half the game before you actually like, oh, I understand what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm
I feel like I can do
accomplishing
something.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can actually be effective at doing it. So I probably would have dropped the game after like the first, I don't know, 6 bodies or something. Like, this is weird. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
having the impetus to like actually get it done helped, which might have also, because I wanted to get it done, led to wanting to teleport between bodies or whatever. So I
Right.
could just
Yeah.
leave the scene and
Just
go back and
finish.
forth. Especially like figuring out what all the top men's shoes look like. You're just like, I can't remember
Yeah.
everything, so I'm going up and down.
But
the
by
Yeah.
yeah,
but by the end, you wanted to go back and walk it, didn't you?
not.
I did.
He's like,
I saw
no.
the monkey
He's like,
paw.
let
I
me
was like, I wanna
just.
go back on the boat.
Dallin had the
Basically-
worst time apparently, but he can't stop thinking about going back to the Obra Dinn.
He is sick. He said he was
Gareth
sick.
was like, just let me be in the book and let me see the scenes. And
Yeah. I wanted to just play in the book.
Yeah.
It's
True.
like-
I mean,
I was
it's
doing that a lot.
understandable.
I was going between
Yeah.
and looking at who was in this scene, just looking at the artist
Yeah, I mean-
drawing where you can see the heads. You're like, oh, this person is here, and then eventually I figured out the bookmark system, how it actually worked.
yeah,
Where
that was a
you
big one
bookmark
for me.
a person, and then it goes between pages, or scenes where they are, which was really
Yeah.
handy. I didn't understand. I thought we were bookmarking individual scenes, which seems not very helpful.
Yeah,
But
I'm
then I figured out how that worked. and it
I
was
never
handy.
figured out the bookmarks. I
Oh,
used it.
really?
I used it once.
That's crazy.
Couldn't figure it out and went, forget it.
See,
anyone
so there
listening-
was something there that was like a little weird.
Yeah, for anyone listening, the way the bookmarks work is when you bookmark a person, you bookmark that person's memories. And when you open up the book, there's a small bookmark on the left and a small bookmark on the right and a big bookmark in the middle. The middle,
It's like
It's the Obra Dinn.
it's an experience, really.
I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah. Well,
The Jake's twist on this.
George, do you want to close us with your thoughts?
My closing remarks. I wanna, I did have the nitpick kind of. I did wish I could sprint and all that stuff, but kind of want to echo a lot of what Jake actually said. This game, all the things fit together so perfectly. Like the music fits with the scenes that fit with the theme. This game is an absolute masterpiece. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but there's specific people that I know will absolutely enjoy it. But, like I said, this game is absolutely, perfect. This is one of the very few games where I at the end, after I played, I had this feeling of like, wow, what did I just go through? And I've had that feeling with other games. but it's I always felt like, wow, what kind of game did I just go through? This was an absolutely amazing game. This is a game that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life and revisit and love. Whereas this, I felt like, wow, I just experienced something. I didn't really feel like I played a game at the end once I was done. I felt like rather I was actually transported to this other world and just kind of lived in it for these, short spaces of time while I was playing, and it felt amazing.
It's very
The
immersive.
Yeah, it's super immersive, and it's a game that's super simple yet so complicated at the same time.
Hmm.
It's very monochromatic. There's a very few colors or uh, colors. There's very few colors in the game. Yeah, just two
Two.
really.
And
Yeah, you can play
huge.
without
maybe.
colors.
There's
You can play
hues.
black and white. I feel like it's one
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
green was the first one, the LCD. But
Yeah, but at the same time, it's so richly detailed in the scenes. Like the things that matter are so detailed, but it's really kind of like you're watching a movie in black and white. You wouldn't say that that's super detailed compared to a 4K IMAX movie experience, but this game is perfectly balanced in that it's simple yet so detailed and complicated at the same time. The gameplay, so simple. You're just walking around a ship, pointing kind of your mouse at things, and then clicking a button, and then walking around and looking at things. Yet it's so incredibly complicated and difficult. There were times where it got very very difficult. That's for sure. Um, the music, it's drums, strings, bells,
organ, I
and
forgot organ earlier.
organ. Yeah, but it's kind of simplistic if you think about it. It's not this whole synthesized kind of deal. Maybe they were synthesized instruments,
Yeah, but it's
but
just like stripped down orchestra.
yeah, it's very stripped down. Yet it evokes such complex emotions and feelings as you're playing it. And there was definitely when I initially started the game, I kind of started to feel overwhelmed. I was like, oh, like I would find more memories and more memories and more memories, and I wasn't solving anyone. And I'm kind of like the kind of guy that like I play Mario Sunshine, and I want to get all the stuff in one area before I
Yeah.
go to the next area, and then I want to get everything there
Yeah.
before I go.
You can't do that in this game, really.
You can't, yeah, and that was bothering me in the very beginning. It was like I was feeling this actual sense of just like, ugh, I don't like
Frustration.
this. Yeah, frustration and being overwhelmed because I like to like all right, this stuff's done. I can leave it behind me. I can now focus on new things. But no, very very few memories were. I saw very very few memories by the time I had like 80% of the memories open up to me, and then I was like, all right, well I've gone this far, and kind of like Gareth said, if I didn't have the pressure of pressure is the wrong word. If I didn't have like
The goal.
the goal, I guess, of having to beat this by the end of the month, so I could talk about it with you guys and everything, I might have been all right. Let me just step back. Let me play something else. But
and
I'm
then never would have
so,
went back.
and probably never would have went back. But I'm so glad that I was able. I was I had this external motivation sort of to get over this initial hump, and then my internal motivation kicked in of something clicked, and I finally realized, okay, this isn't just a traditional game that I'm playing. I'm not racking up points. I'm not just racking up memories solved. I am actually experiencing
Yeah,
this masterpiece.
that's the point I
of
wanted to say.
game.
Actually, I'm glad you said
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
like
and-
there's no goal counter like going up really.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. Yeah, it's just
there's no rewards for anything either.
It's all
exactly. It
intrinsic.
became all yeah, exactly. And it's just
There's the word.
and it just led to me being able to sit back and truly enjoy this masterpiece of a game, which I even hesitate to say game. It's just of an experience that was just delivered to me through fantastic music, fantastic art, fantastic voice acting, and a really really perfect the clues like dripped at the exact moment.
Right.
The amount of clues he gave you in each scene, and the way each scene was laid out, and the people involved in each of the scenes was near perfection. I'm sure people out there can find criticisms for everything, but it served its job perfectly, and it allowed me to be able to deduce things. Most, I'd say 80% of my solutions were educated guesses, but it gives you just enough information where it's not easy, but it's not impossible to the point that you can't get it. And I absolutely loved at the rate at which we got clues. I think that's one of the main things that I want to say in my closing remarks is like, the way and the information he gives you is kind of liberating. Like I felt kind of like, okay, after a few deaths were solved, it and you were actually alluding this a little bit to this, Graham, earlier when you were saying it never was something where it was, oh, I tricked you. You were gonna,
Right.
you were thinking it was this thing, but I'm tricking you, and it's actually this other thing. Once he gained my confidence or my trust, my trust. Once he gained my trust in the game itself, that okay, I have more confidence now in my assumptions. Once I hit that kind of went over that little bump, it felt super liberating, and I realized, okay, if I am not getting something, it's not because the game is tricking me in some way, but it's because I haven't paid attention to the right thing, or I haven't connected the correct two dots,
Right.
et cetera, et
I'm
cetera.
not being
And
tricked. This is just something I'm not
Exactly.
doing. Right.
And there's so many other games where I've had that feeling where like, is the game trying to trick me here? And sometimes it wasn't, but other times it most definitely was. But in this game, I initially, just from my preconceived notions of other games, I had that kind of guard up. But after I was able to just realize, no, I'm in the hands of a master storyteller here. I can sit back and relax.
That's a good point.
Just kind of do my job. I don't know how to explain it, but do my job and actually pay attention and solve these things. That was extremely liberating, and it felt amazing to play. So
I'm really glad you. I like the way you put that there at the end. You're just like, you're in the hands of him, and it is very direct. Like that, he just like, pay attention. Like the literally the instructions of the game is just so simple. It's just like, pay attention, do what you're supposed to do. Yep. Like that's it. He's telling you all you need to do, like right there, without like like literally telling you.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that beginning tutorial, but that's a good point, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it explains other things, but it doesn't explain like, okay, hey dummy, this is the captain. Like, figure it out for the next guy.
It's like, here's all the tools, trust them, and do the work. And it's like, okay. Yeah, man, I mean, what more can I really say than what you guys have already said? Like, I think the biggest thing for me is I do think the game is incredible. I don't think it's perfect, only because I think it doesn't do a good enough job to keep you going, right? Like everyone had said something similar of like, if I didn't have the game club conversation upcoming, then I wouldn't have been able, or I likely wouldn't have been able to finish it, right? And I think, like, I don't know, maybe that's just because of the nature of the game, or maybe, I don't know, could something more have been done to, like, pull people along and make it more addictive to play? I don't know.
I want to say it might have been ego on my point to have that kind of feeling. Because I was like, this is not working for me. I should be able to get it. It's not worth my time because obviously it's broken, not me.
That's actually a very good point.
I thought
now that you mention it,
I will say that for myself.
Now that you mention it, I realize now that that's the exact same feeling. It's not my fault. It's the game's.
It's the game's fault.
I had that exact same feeling, and I just now that you mention it, it clicked. You're right.
Yeah,
so that's how it was for me. I don't know what was for you guys.
Yeah, it wasn't. It
I
wasn't like
thought I was my fault.
Yeah,
but I totally get what you're saying about drawing, and that's where the music and just kind of like the other stuff has to pull you in. You have to be invested in the world.
Yeah, like
and in finding the story yourself. Like the game really doesn't do. I agree with you. Like,
it doesn't. I really
you're
wish
using your own imagination.
Right, I really wish it did, because I think the experience was worth having, and I think it was incredible. I just wish I was more self-motivated, or at least I wish the game was pulling me more, or even if it was difficult, that I really felt like I really am compelled, right? Like I was compelled, but not enough, right?
But after about halfway, didn't like once you started
Yeah,
getting the
like-
threes, after about halfway, wasn't like seeing the lines go on your thing? Like,
Yes,
"Ooh," like a
yes.
little
There,
kid?
there were. That's what I'm
You
saying,
get
right?
3 lines.
But it
The
takes
mystery
so
chapter,
long to
though.
get to that point.
But that's what I'm
Wasn't
saying.
the
There-
mystery chapter enough of a draw?
no,
kind of?
no.
For me, it was a little bit, and that's why I thought the payoff. I was like, really?
Yeah,
But-
for me it was there were hooks that would bring me along, but as you guys had mentioned, like this game has been on my since literally it came out, it's been on my like list of games to play. I've heard it was incredible. It was always something I really truly wanted to do. It wasn't something like, oh, I'll get to eventually. It was like, no, I really do want to play this, but I likely won't, even though I really do want to play it. So even with that, and it took this moment of us playing it and going through. Even like Gareth selected the game, and he still felt like, I've got to get through this to, that's the only reason I got through was to have the conversation about it. I just wish, not only for like my sake of playing it, but just for the sake of the game and the experience. Like it's like an experience that people should really have. It's just unfortunate that it's not able to like pull people more in, and I guess that speaks to like it was critically successful, but obviously it's not like successful from a popularity perspective. So it's just a shame. That's not to like say anything. I echo all of the positive things you guys have said. I think the game is incredible, but it's just a shame that it's more people don't think it's incredible because they've not.
Yeah. I think this game's a slow burn for for the whole gaming community. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think the biggest hindrance to that, or to getting pulled in, is that it's not obvious where to go next. Like
True.
at any point, especially after you're like, oh, I solved 3, and they're like, now I have another blank slate.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, there were.
At some point, initially, there's like the doors that open, but then once you uncover the whole boat before you uncover the majority of the
like,
crew, unless you're just a genius. I don't know.
when you're going through the chapters, like up until the point where you're unlocking all the chapters, like, oh, okay, I have more chapters to do, and I'm going through the chapters, no problem. But then like you hit that point, and then you're kind of like,
now what?
Now
How
wait,
do I do this?
now I have no direction now. Like there were like several times. So I played in like about 2-hour spurts. So the first time I played, I got like all the chapters within like 2-ish hours, and then I was like, okay, now what do I do? Like I was like stuck. Like I legitimately thought I was done. Not that I had finished the game, but that I couldn't do anymore. I was like, I don't know if I can do anymore. Like this is maybe where my run of this game ends because I don't.
Well, and then doesn't the game, like once you actually find all the bodies, doesn't the game actually
Starts raining.
allow you to leave the boat at any time? past that?
Yeah. Like
So,
I thought like
technically you
crap
could just
out of me,
nope
actually.
out whenever you want.
right. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do this. Like, am I not smart enough? Like I feel like I've done all I can do. How could I possibly do more? So then I would close the game after those 2 hours, the initial 2 hours, and then I was like, oh, I'll try again tomorrow. I guess I came back. I played for another hour, and then right away I was solving things. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what happened last time, but I'm doing stuff now. And then I would hit a wall after like 2 hours.
Brain juices got
the brain juices are getting refilled or something. But then after a couple hours I was like, that's it. I've hit the wall. Like I really have done everything I can do now. I don't think I can go anymore. But I said that yesterday, so I'm going to close the game here and I'll try again tomorrow. And then I just did that same thing until I got to the end, and then I was like, oh, I've really hit a wall with this freaking bosun. But I mean, at the end, I was like, okay,
one of
well,
the easiest ones stumped.
I know,
stumped you.
I know, right?
That's how
But
it goes though.
but it was because I had those like trial and errors. I could have easily dropped the game at any time, right? Every one of those was like a real potential drop of the game, and it was this conversation. Looking forward to this conversation that brought me through. So, but I think honestly, I'm so like I think several of you probably said it, but like I'm so grateful that we had this instance and situation to play this game because it wouldn't have happened any other way. Like it's such a great. I feel so relieved and grateful that like we could experience the game because it really was like a masterpiece.
Yeah,
like,
it was a real
really
treat.
amazing. Yeah, it's quite an experience.
The whole experience has
So-
been a real treat.
Yeah, it's been really
Some
good.
of the coolest things that I've heard has been from here, like the story things I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
I had no idea until here. The little flicker off in the ocean. It's amazing. I want to go turn the game back on and look at it. Like I just realized, like,
Yeah, it's amazing how
Just sit at
mesmerizing
the
it
edge
is.
of the ship. Just
like I just want to
I'm
see
back.
somebody living.
I'm back in the Obra
I want to see
Dinn.
somebody living. I want to see somebody living. It's like, hey, I saw you. Like
Yeah.
everybody that I saw is dead. So I just want to be able to look over. That
Dallin
and be
wants
like,
to
hey.
witness them.
Yeah,
Witness
I just see
me.
everybody dead. And then
Yeah.
all I do is just kind of what, I do like the imagery at the end where now it's just like, that was a beautiful read. You just pick it up and
That's funny you just said The Witness,
The
because
end.
that reminded me of Jonathan Blow's game, The Witness. Just to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. Well, it's an adventure puzzle game, and I just realized that as George was explaining, the game's just walking around and clicking on stuff. None of us really equated this game to an adventure game. Adventure games have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I think we've just been out of the loop here.
That's true.
Because this is just
It's
and,
not
and
our-
I enjoyed The Witness, but The Witness I didn't really think of as an adventure game at the time, like a point and click adventure, because you're walking around a 3D environment and you're solving these little puzzles, and it's like the same thing over and over again. And I really, really loved that game, and it was super complicated, but it didn't do any of like the story stuff or the actual experience of being somewhere like this game did.
Right.
And I guess that's like literally the only thing I could compare this game to, because I have always wanted to be in that adventure game type thing. Like people always talk about how amazing they are, and I'm just like, yeah, but how good could it really be? Like I've had Broken Age downloaded on my computer. I don't know if you guys know that, but it's the Double Fine adventure game. I've had that game downloaded on my computer for years, and I've never launched it once. Like I'm going to do that now after we play this next game. I'm gonna try in my hand on more adventure games and just more games that in general that are not what I think I would like, because again that's
Not our
to
typical
top it off.
wheelhouse, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this game has changed how I'm going to approach my thought and giving games a shot. Like
But this wasn't an ordinary adventure game by any means.
No,
you're
but-
looking at so many clues, you're not really solving puzzles. You're not picking up items to use later.
yeah, in that aspect.
But
it's
could
not,
you
but-
say that the knowledge that you're picking up is kind of equivalent to picking up
Kind
items?
of.
Yeah, it's different, but
It's different?
it's the closest I have played
yeah,
to
for
something where I'm trying to think of like
Yeah.
you're not doing like you're not jumping on things or shooting things or like
Right. I
playing
do think
mechanics
Swinging
or
a
talking to
sword.
NPCs. You're not doing any of the things I equate to like a good game. Like it's
I do
so-
think the adventure game analogy isn't too far off though, because in adventure games you pick up random items and you like try them in different scenarios, and I think the knowledge is very similar, where you're like
Yeah.
picking up names and causes of death and stuff, and then trying them all
Yeah,
together.
see, I don't know 100% the tropes on adventure games. I
Yeah.
just remember like some of them obviously I've heard are just straight up like here's a picture puzzle and you walk around, you do it, but I've heard other things about how they're really good with the story and like
Mhm.
immersing you with the characters, and that's kind of more the point I was trying to
The
get at, I
Witness
guess.
didn't
I
have
don't know.
much of a story.
No,
Double
like
Fine
I think it was supposed to, but I just wasn't smart enough to figure it out because Jonathan Blow's just like way out
Yeah,
there. I mean,
big brain.
this game is complicated and crazy, and that he's a genius too. But the Witness was like,
That's out there.
Yeah.
that's like certain maths that I don't understand out there. Like,
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
before we get into too many more tangents on just to for time's sake, that was a great conversation. I'm glad that
Oh,
we all
yes.
enjoyed it. Absolutely. I mean, more really can't be said. Like it's been a good experience,
Yeah.
both playing and having the conversation. So, but next month we have Jake. You've selected the game, and our game
Yes.
is
the game is Paradise Killer.
Paradise
I can't tell
Killer.
you the developer, but yeah, inspired by this, it is another story-based adventure type, solving murder mysteries, and it just came out the end of last year and actually has really good scores. So I'm super excited about it. It's looks like it's going to be a hoot.
All
So I
right.
can't wait.
Very excited.
We got to get this in VR. We got to get a game like this in VR. Obra Dinn VR, baby.
Over to VR.
It-
With that color palette,
Kind
maybe
of
not.
fit for it, yeah.
Can we cut that part?
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining,
good.
and we will see you all next month.
Yeah, boys, it was a pleasure.
See you then.
Yeah.
See ya.